Now, this is quite a discovery. Fragments of a biblical scroll, along with other relics, have been found in desert caves in Israel.
Turkish authorities have confirmed that an ancient Bible thought to be 1,500 years old.
For nearly 2,000 years, the Book of Enoch has remained a forbidden mystery, a text shrouded in secrecy and dismissed as too dangerous for the world to know. Often called the Forbidden Bible, this ancient scripture unlocks revelations that challenge everything we think we understand about angels, humanity's origins, and the cosmos itself. In today's video, we'll delve into the mysteries of the Book of Enoch, uncovering stories that go far beyond what the traditional Bible reveals. You'll meet the Watcher's angels who defied their divine duties and descended to earth, sparking a rebellion that altered the course of humanity. Their union with humans gave rise to the Nephilim, a race of giants, and unleashed chaos that forever changed the balance between good and evil. But the Book of Enoch doesn't stop there. It offers a glimpse into hidden realms, celestial secrets, and a vision of earth and the heavens unlike anything you've imagined. From startling prophecies of judgment to forbidden knowledge of the universe, this ancient text holds truths that many believe were intentionally concealed. Are you ready to unlock these mysteries? Let's dive in.
In these scrolls, we find biblical manuscripts, copies of the Bible that are 1,000 years older than any previously known copy of the Bible, as well as a treasure trove of documents that we had never seen before.
The Book of Enoch, an ancient and enigmatic text, has captivated the imagination of religious scholars, historians, and spiritual seekers for centuries. Though not included in the canonical Bible, it offers a compelling perspective on humanity's origins, the supernatural, and apocalyptic prophecy. Its contents provoke both fascination and controversy, as its divine inspiration has been debated since its rediscovery. Despite skepticism, the Book of Enoch continues to intrigue for its bold narratives, which intertwine faith, mythology, and cosmic mysteries. The Book of Enoch came to global attention in 1773 when Scottish explorer James Bruce unearthed a manuscript in Abyssinia, present-day Ethiopia. This text, long preserved by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, remains part of its sacred scriptures. The Ethiopian Christian tradition holds the Book of Enoch in high esteem, contrasting with its exclusion from most other Christian Bibles. This divergence adds to the text's mystique, prompting questions about why it was left out of mainstream biblical canon. Enoch's revelations, said to include foreboding visions and hidden knowledge, have sparked enduring curiosity. For some, these pages evoke awe and wonder, while for others, they inspire unease and theological debate. To understand the Book of Enoch's impact, one must explore its origins, content, and the mysteries it claims to reveal. Often labeled a pseudepigraphal work, attributed to Enoch, a biblical figure, but likely written by later authors, it stands outside the traditional Old Testament framework. Despite its controversial status, the Book of Enoch is a treasure trove of theological and historical significance. While the original manuscript is thought to have disappeared in the 4th century, its rediscovery in Ethiopia centuries later reinvigorated interest in its extraordinary journey. The preservation of the Book of Enoch owes much to the Ethiopian Christian community and other groups who cherished its teachings. Early Christian sects, such as the Manichaeans, revered the book for its cosmological and apocalyptic insights, often at odds with orthodox interpretations. These groups helped ensure its survival during periods when clerical authorities sought to suppress it, dismissing it as heretical. The book's exclusion from the Bible likely stemmed from its unconventional content, which delves into cosmic secrets, fallen angels, and dramatic depictions of the end times, topics that posed challenges to traditional theological understanding. Central to the Book of Enoch is its vivid portrayal of the supernatural. Among its narratives are accounts of angelic beings who rebelled against God, descended to earth, and mingled with humanity. These fallen angels are said to have fathered a race of giants and imparted forbidden knowledge to mankind. Such tales, with their fantastical and otherworldly elements, likely unsettled early religious authorities. The book also offers intricate descriptions of celestial phenomena, prophecies of divine judgment, and moral exhortations, blending mythology with apocalyptic theology. Some scholars draw parallels between its stories and Babylonian mythology, highlighting its deep roots in ancient religious thought. But who was Enoch, the figure to whom this mysterious text is attributed? In the Bible, Enoch is depicted as a patriarch of great faith, known for his extraordinary closeness to God. According to Genesis 5:21-24, Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Many interpret this as Enoch's ascension to heaven without experiencing death, a distinction he shares only with the prophet Elijah. Enoch is further described as the great-great-grandson of Adam, the father of Jared, and the grandfather of Methuselah, the longest living man according to the Bible. His life and faith exemplify spiritual purity, and his relationship with God is seen as a model of righteousness. The Book of Enoch expands on this biblical figure's role, presenting him as a prophet entrusted with divine secrets and apocalyptic visions. His warnings about impending judgment parallel those of later prophets and foreshadow the mission of Noah, his descendant. Enoch's unwavering faith, as portrayed in both canonical and non-canonical texts, resonates across Jewish, Christian, and even Islamic traditions. In Islam, some scholars associate Enoch with the prophet Idris mentioned in the Quran. The enduring reverence for Enoch highlights his significance as a spiritual and moral guide. The Book of Enoch gained renewed attention in the mid-20th century with the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls near the Dead Sea. In the late 1940s, Bedouin shepherds stumbled upon ancient manuscripts hidden in caves in the Judean desert. Among these texts were fragments of the Book of Enoch, further confirming its antiquity and importance. These scrolls, dated to over 2,000 years old, provided critical insights into Jewish religious beliefs during the Second Temple period and sparked a fresh wave of scholarly interest in Enoch's writings. The Book of Enoch comprises 5 main sections: the Book of Watchers, the Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, the Dream Visions, and the Epistles of Enoch. Each section explores different themes, from the origins of sin and the mysteries of the cosmos to apocalyptic judgment and moral teachings. The Book of Watchers narrates the rebellion of the fallen angels and their subsequent punishment, a theme echoed in later biblical and apocryphal works. The Book of Parables focuses on prophecies and moral lessons, emphasizing the ultimate triumph of righteousness. The Astronomical Book delves into celestial cycles and ancient cosmology, reflecting humanity's enduring fascination with the heavens. The Dream Visions offer symbolic imagery of future events, while the Epistles of Enoch underscore the importance of faith and obedience to God. Although excluded from the canonical Bible, the Book of Enoch has left an indelible mark on religious thought. Its influence is evident in various biblical texts, including the Gospel of Luke, the Epistle to the Hebrews, and the Epistle of Jude, which directly cites Enoch's prophecy about the judgment of the ungodly. The book's apocalyptic themes and vivid imagery have also inspired countless theological and literary works, underscoring its enduring relevance. The Book of Enoch invites readers to contemplate profound questions about humanity's origins, purpose, and destiny. Its narratives challenge traditional views, offering a unique blend of myth, prophecy, and moral reflection. Whether seen as a divinely inspired text or a relic of ancient religious thought, it provides a window into early Jewish spirituality and the complex interplay of faith, culture, and imagination. Ultimately, the Book of Enoch serves as a testament to humanity's enduring quest for understanding the divine. It speaks of sin and redemption, the conflict between good and evil, and the hope of eternal justice. For those who delve into its mysteries, it offers not only a glimpse into the past, but also a call to ponder the eternal truths that continue to shape our spiritual journey.
Police in Turkey have recovered a Bible thought to be 1,000 years old. The holy book, which was found in the central Turkish city of Tokat.
The Book of Enoch is an extraordinary ancient text that captivates readers with its profound stories and intricate narratives, exploring mysteries that challenge traditional views of the divine. Comprised of several sections, the book delves into themes of celestial beings, forbidden knowledge, cosmic laws, and apocalyptic events. Its contents diverge significantly from canonical biblical texts, making it a source of intrigue and debate. Among its most compelling accounts is the tale of the fallen angels, celestial beings who defied divine mandates by descending to earth, forming unions with human women, and giving rise to the Nephilim, half-human, half-angelic hybrids described as giants and agents of chaos. The Nephilim's actions are portrayed as a key factor in humanity's moral corruption, ultimately precipitating the Great Flood as detailed in Genesis. The term Nephilim originates from the Hebrew word meaning fallen ones, a fitting description for these hybrid beings. The Book of Enoch paints them as colossal, supernatural entities whose parentage endowed them with extraordinary size and strength. Their existence and nature have sparked much debate among theologians and scholars. Some argue that these beings are literal giants, a product of the physical unions between angels and humans. Others interpret the term metaphorically, suggesting the Nephilim represent humanity's moral failures rather than actual supernatural entities. Another perspective posits that the sons of God mentioned in Genesis 6 were not angels, but descendants of Seth, Adam's righteous son. In this interpretation, the Nephilim were ordinary humans who strayed from the righteous path, with their giant stature symbolizing their moral depravity rather than physical size. These differing interpretations highlight the Book of Enoch's enigmatic nature. Its narratives blur the lines between the physical and spiritual realms, leaving readers to grapple with questions about the boundaries between humanity and the divine. This ambiguity is one reason why the book was excluded from most biblical canons. Early church authorities found its accounts too mythical and speculative to align with Orthodox doctrine. Yet, its exclusion did little to diminish its allure. The Book of Enoch continues to captivate readers with its vivid depictions of angels, cosmic mysteries, and revelations about humanity's place in the divine order. One of the book's most fascinating sections centers on the Watchers, a group of 200 angels assigned to observe humanity. These celestial beings, however, succumbed to earthly temptations, defying their divine purpose. They abandoned their heavenly duties, descending to live among humans. This rebellion was led by Shemihaza, one of the Watchers, whose name is associated with defiance against divine law. Other prominent Watchers include Asael, Ramel, Artakof, Matarel, and Ananel. Their decision to intermingle with humanity led to corruption on both sides, as they shared forbidden knowledge and engaged in immoral acts. The Watchers became known as Bad Watchers due to their transgressions, which extended beyond their illicit unions with human women. The knowledge imparted by the Watchers introduced humanity to previously concealed truths, forever altering the course of human history. They taught the secrets of weapon-making, warfare, and the manipulation of natural elements. These teachings extended to astrology, the observation of celestial phenomena, and the art of sorcery. While these skills elevated humanity's capabilities, the Book of Enoch portrays them as corrupting influences that disrupted the natural order and led to moral decay. Yekon, one of the Watchers, is credited with persuading others to engage in forbidden relations with humans, while figures like Asbeel, Gadriel, Penemu, and Kazdeye are described as agents of deceit and rebellion against divine law. Together, they shaped humanity's trajectory, embedding a legacy of corruption and knowledge that defied God's intentions. The Book of Enoch does not shy away from exploring the consequences of these transgressions. The Watchers and their offspring, the Nephilim, are portrayed as catalysts for the Great Flood, a divine act of judgment aimed at purging the world of their corrupt influence. This event underscores the book's central themes of divine justice and the consequences of defying cosmic order. The narrative suggests that the Watcher's actions not only corrupted humanity, but also disrupted the balance of creation, necessitating a dramatic intervention to restore harmony. Beyond its accounts of the Watchers and the Nephilim, the Book of Enoch delves into cosmic mysteries that offer a unique perspective on the universe's structure and divine governance. Enoch, the book's central figure, is depicted as a righteous man who is granted visions of heavenly realms and divine secrets. Among these revelations are descriptions of celestial mechanics governing the sun, moon, stars, and winds. The text presents a vision of the cosmos as an intricately ordered system overseen by angels, each with specific roles in maintaining divine balance. One of the most striking aspects of these revelations is the story of the fallen angels' expulsion from heaven. The book portrays their fall as a profound disruption of the celestial order, with repercussions that extend beyond Earth. Enoch's visions also introduce the archangel Uriel, who is associated with divine illumination and the transmission of sacred knowledge. Uriel's role highlights the tension between the revelation of divine mysteries and the potential dangers of such knowledge when misused. The book also touches on the origins of demons, linking their existence to the Watcher's fall. According to the text, the spirits of the Nephilim, unable to ascend to heaven or descend to the underworld, became wandering spirits, agents of chaos and destruction. This explanation provides a spiritual rationale for the existence of demonic entities, framing them as remnants of humanity's corruption. In addition to its cosmic and spiritual themes, the Book of Enoch provides an alternate account of creation. Enoch is said to witness the formation of the universe, gaining insight into the divine architecture that governs all things. The text describes God constructing the material world from a void, beginning with the creation of a throne and the establishment of cosmic boundaries. Water, transformed into solid matter, became the foundation for Earth, showcasing God's creative power and intentional design. These accounts, detailed in chapters 28 through 29, diverge from the Genesis creation story, offering a more elaborate vision of the universe's origins. Despite its exclusion from the biblical canon, the Book of Enoch has left a lasting legacy. Its vivid imagery and profound themes have inspired theological debates and influenced later apocalyptic literature. For some, the book serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of forbidden knowledge and humanity's tendency to overreach. For others, it offers a glimpse into divine mysteries that provoke deeper reflection on humanity's relationship with the divine. The Book of Enoch also addresses themes of divine judgment and ultimate redemption. It foretells a 1,000-year reign of the Messiah, a period of peace and divine justice that follows an era of moral decay and upheaval. This prophetic vision underscores the book's message of hope and restoration, suggesting that humanity's corruption is not the end of the story. Enoch's revelations point to a future where divine order is restored and the consequences of the Watcher's rebellion are finally overcome. Ultimately, the Book of Enoch remains an enigmatic text that challenges readers to grapple with profound questions about humanity's origin, purpose, and place in the cosmos. Its stories of fallen angels, forbidden knowledge, and cosmic order invite readers to ponder the boundaries between the sacred and the profane. Whether viewed as literal accounts, allegorical tales, or speculative theology, the Book of Enoch continues to inspire fascination and debate. It serves as a powerful commentary on the consequences of moral compromise and humanity's enduring quest for divine knowledge.
Israeli archaeologists working to prevent caves in the area from being looted filmed the moment of their discovery. They'd found ancient verses from the books of the prophets Zechariah and Nahum in the Hebrew Bible.
The Epistles of Enoch, found in chapters 91 to 108 of the ancient Book of Enoch, serve as a poignant conclusion to this remarkable text. Unlike the letters of Paul in the New Testament, Enoch's writings are not simple correspondence, but rather a testament, a farewell address offering wisdom, warnings, and prophetic insights for future generations. Addressed to his son Methuselah and all his descendants, these words transcend their immediate audience, presenting timeless reflections on faith, morality, and divine judgment. They stand as an enduring message, imparting Enoch's vision and counsel for humanity's ultimate destiny. In these writings, Enoch recounts a profound vision that took him into the presence of God. Through this divine encounter, he gained knowledge of events yet to come, a heavy burden that compelled him to share what he had seen. Calling together his children and extended family, Enoch spoke with urgency, urging them to live lives marked by uprightness, righteousness, and faith. These virtues, he emphasized, are essential for maintaining a close relationship with God. Yet Enoch's address is not merely a moral reminder, it is a grave warning of the consequences that await those who stray from righteousness. One of Enoch's most significant revelations is the foretelling of a great flood, described in vivid detail. This catastrophic event, later chronicled in the story of Noah, is revealed as divine judgment against the rampant wickedness of humanity. Enoch explains that the flood will serve as a means of cleansing the earth of corruption and sin. His words carry an urgent tone, warning that divine patience has its limits. This vision of a flood, both a warning to his contemporaries and a lesson for future generations, underscores the inevitability and necessity of judgment when wickedness reaches its peak. It is a sobering reminder that abandoning righteousness invites dire consequences. Beyond the prophecy of the flood, Enoch's epistle delves into themes of ultimate judgment. He speaks of a final reckoning, one that transcends time and encompasses all humanity. This judgment, Enoch explains, is not limited to the wicked of his era, but includes the resurrection of the dead, a concept that resonates with later Judeo-Christian beliefs. In chapters 91:13-14, Enoch describes this cosmic event, where the righteous will be rewarded and the wicked will face eternal consequences. This vision is both awe-inspiring and terrifying, intended to provoke reverence and introspection among its audience. Enoch also delivers a series of oracles against sinners, denouncing their actions and serving as a record of their deeds. These 6 oracles are directed at those who defy God's laws, standing as declarations of justice. Each oracle highlights different forms of wickedness that have corrupted society, reinforcing the message that no sin goes unnoticed. These warnings are not just condemnations, they serve as public testimony, a reminder that the consequences of rebellion against divine law are inevitable and just. Despite the dire warnings, Enoch's epistle also conveys hope and guidance. He reassures his descendants that righteousness will ultimately prevail, encouraging them to remain steadfast in their faith. Enoch envisions a future where the righteous inherit a world cleansed of evil, enjoying peace and divine favor. This promise of redemption balances the themes of punishment with the assurance of reward for those who walk in faith. It is a message of divine justice, where every action has consequences and moral order is upheld through divine intervention. The dual focus on punishment for the wicked and reward for the righteous forms the heart of Enoch's theology. His worldview presents a moral universe where justice is not arbitrary, but is directly tied to individual actions and choices. In this vision, no deed, whether good or evil, escapes notice, emphasizing humanity's accountability to a higher moral standard. This powerful narrative serves as a reminder that every person's actions shape their destiny, both in this life and the next. Enoch's epistle has endured through the centuries because of the universality of its message. Its teachings resonate across generations, offering timeless counsel on integrity, faith, and divine judgment. The epistle is not merely a record of one man's prophetic vision, it is a spiritual guide that challenges readers to reflect on their values and choices. By presenting its moral and theological insights in a narrative form, Enoch's words engage both the imagination and the conscience, encouraging deep contemplation of humanity's place in the divine plan. The Epistle of Enoch has also influenced other religious texts and traditions. Its themes of the Great Flood, final judgment, and moral accountability echo in the canonical books of the Bible, particularly in Genesis and Revelation. Scholars have noted these parallels, suggesting that Enoch's writings played a foundational role in shaping early religious thought. This connection enriches the understanding of biblical themes, revealing the shared roots of concepts like divine judgment and resurrection. For modern readers, the Epistle of Enoch offers a unique perspective on these enduring themes. Its vivid descriptions and moral exhortations inspire reflection on humanity's struggles with morality, fears of judgment, and hopes for redemption. By combining apocalyptic vision with practical guidance, Enoch's words challenge individuals to consider their own actions and their place in the grand narrative of creation. His message remains as relevant as ever, addressing universal concerns and calling each generation to uphold justice and seek truth. Enoch's epistle, with its blend of prophecy and moral teaching, serves as a timeless guide for those seeking to live in harmony with divine purpose. It calls all who encounter it to pursue righteousness, offering hope and direction in a world often marked by uncertainty. As readers reflect on its message, they are reminded that while history evolves, the call to walk in faith and integrity remains eternal. This enduring invitation to align with God's will continues to resonate, offering wisdom and inspiration for those who heed its words.
In these scrolls, we find biblical manuscripts, copies of the Bible that are 1,000 years older than any previously known copy of the Bible, as well as a treasure trove of documents that we had never seen before.
Now, this is quite a discovery. Fragments of a biblical scroll, along with other relics, have been found in desert caves in Israel.
Turkish authorities have confirmed that an ancient Bible thought to be 1,500 years old.
In the depths of history, a mysterious text vanished from sight, hidden away for centuries. That is, until the 1700s, when the ancient Book of Enoch was rediscovered in the Ethiopian region of Abyssinia. This long-forgotten manuscript sent shockwaves through the early Christian church, leaving everyone who encountered it trembling in fear, priests included. The secret knowledge within its pages sparked expeditions that drove many to madness, while those who managed to keep their sanity were never the same again. So, what exactly is in this enigmatic book? How does Joe Rogan explain its mind-bending content? And just how did it have the power to unravel the minds of those who sought it out? Strap in, because we're diving deep into the mysteries of the Book of Enoch. We are Jesus' eternal aura. In today's video, you will have appropriate answers to all the questions above. Before you know what happened, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and click the bell icon for all the latest updates.
The ancient Book of Enoch is a book that was quite popular during the first 700 years of church history, but then faded from sight. Nobody republished it. It disappeared until the Book of Enoch was rediscovered in the Ethiopian region of Abyssinia in the 1700s.
The Book of Enoch is a mysterious and ancient text that has captivated scholars and mystics alike for centuries. Discovered in 1773 by the Scottish explorer James Bruce in Abyssinia, modern-day Ethiopia, the book is also known as the Ethiopic Book of Enoch. It is a pseudepigraphical work, meaning it is falsely attributed to a notable figure, in this case, Enoch, the son of Jared. The true author wrote the book under Enoch's name to give it an authority it might not have otherwise possessed. The Book of Enoch has garnered attention not only for its esoteric content, but also for its complicated history. Joe Rogan, a well-known media personality, has expressed a particular interest in this ancient text, describing it as containing essential truths that have been suppressed by politics and the human struggle for power. Rogan's discussions with various scientists on his podcast have further fueled the intrigue surrounding the book. The Book of Enoch is part of a larger body of pseudepigraphical literature, which includes other works such as the Life of Adam and Eve, the Treatise of Shem, and the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. These texts provide significant evidence that Judaism during the Second Temple period in Palestine was not monolithic, but rather a diverse collection of beliefs and practices. The Book of Enoch, in particular, is notable for its apocalyptic themes, which would later influence early Christian thought. The original manuscript of the Book of Enoch disappeared at the end of the 4th century, but portions of it have been found in Greek, Latin, Syriac, and Aramaic since the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. The question of who found the book and why it was hidden has intrigued historians and theologians alike. James Bruce's discovery of the Book of Enoch was both a remarkable and controversial event. Bruce, a Scottish scholar and explorer, was in search of ancient relics and knowledge when he stumbled upon the text. He had hoped to find a book that would preserve the secrets of ancient rites, but instead, he uncovered what some believe to be an ancient depiction of the devil's origins. The Book of Enoch was denounced by early church fathers and was preserved only in fragments within the ancient Ethiopian language of Ge'ez. This text offers a narrative that no establishment of the time wished to see credited. Rooted in esoteric Jewish thought, the Book of Enoch suggests that the figure of the devil may have once been humanity's ally and mentor. This idea was radical and controversial, especially in a time when Britain was engaged in territorial conflicts and religious tensions were high. Bruce's journey took him through various parts of the ancient world, including Alexandria, Thebes, and Cairo, before he arrived in the former Ethiopian capital of Gondar in 1770. While ostensibly in search of the Blue Nile, Bruce was also on a quest to find the Book of Enoch. His interest in the ancient Ethiopian language and his willingness to travel to a region known for its hostility towards outsiders have led some to speculate that Bruce was motivated by more than just scientific curiosity. Bruce was a member of the Canongate Kill-winning Masonic Lodge, and some believe that his search for the Book of Enoch was influenced by Masonic beliefs. Freemasons equate Enoch with the Egyptian deity Thoth, who is considered the founder of written language. Bruce's discovery of the Book of Enoch, therefore, could have been seen as a validation of Masonic beliefs that they were the true inheritors of ancient wisdom. However, what Bruce found in the Book of Enoch was far more perplexing. The text challenges the conventional understanding of the devil as the antagonist in the story of humanity's fall. Instead, it suggests that the source of wisdom may have originated from beings whom the Hebrew deity sought to destroy during the flood. This narrative, which implies that creativity and knowledge were not gifts from God, but rather from rebellious angels, was considered heretical by both religious and social authorities at the time. As a result, the Book of Enoch never found a place in canonized Christianity and remained unpublished during Bruce's lifetime. To have made such a story public would have caused massive unrest, as it contradicted the established religious and cultural beliefs of the time. Despite its rich imagery and profound implications, the Book of Enoch continues to be a footnote in history, often overshadowed by other religious texts. The story of the Book of Enoch does not end with Bruce's discovery. In 1946-1947, the Dead Sea Scrolls were found in a cave near the ancient settlement of Qumran, located on the northwest coast of the Dead Sea, in what is now known as the West Bank. The scrolls were discovered by a group of Bedouin boys tending to their sheep. One of the boys threw a rock into a cliff opening, only to hear the sound of shattering pottery. Upon investigating, they found several large clay jars, 7 of which contained leather and papyrus scrolls. These scrolls, which included fragments of the Book of Enoch, were repurchased by antiquities dealers and scholars. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls has provided invaluable insights into the religious beliefs and practices of the time, further solidifying the significance of the Book of Enoch in the study of ancient texts and early Judaism. The Book of Enoch is a fascinating and complex text that continues to intrigue scholars, theologians, and mystics alike. Its discovery by James Bruce in Ethiopia, its controversial content, and its eventual rediscovery among the Dead Sea Scrolls all contribute to its enduring mystique. While the Book of Enoch may remain on the fringes of mainstream religious thought, its influence and significance cannot be denied. The Book of Enoch is an ancient text, believed to be around 2,000 years old, and consists of various fragments of scrolls that were discovered alongside other significant manuscripts. Despite its age and historical significance, many clerical scholars have dismissed the book, claiming it contains revelations that were not divinely inspired by God. The Book of Enoch was excluded from the Bible due to its controversial content, which includes a list of fallen angels, violent giants, strange cosmological facts, and mystical revelations. These elements have led to ongoing debates among scholars, with some believing that the stories in Enoch reflect Babylonian mythology. The Book of Enoch is attributed to Enoch, a figure mentioned in the Bible as the seventh patriarch in the line of Adam before the Great Flood. Enoch is often portrayed as a man who ascended to heaven by God's will to learn the secrets of the end of time. However, others view him as a product of ancient fan fiction, a character inserted into stories for dramatic effect. The book begins with an ominous description of the end times, detailing Earth's destruction and the final judgment of sinful men. This apocalyptic vision is one of the reasons the book was not included in the canonical Bible. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Book of Enoch is the introduction of mysterious creatures known as the Watchers. These 200 angels were initially tasked with observing human history, but they eventually became enamored with human women and descended to Earth to take them as wives. This union between angels and humans resulted in the birth of giants known as Nephilim, who were depicted as monstrous beings that devoured everything in their path, including people. The story of the Watchers and the Nephilim has been compared to modern fantasy tales like The Lord of the Rings, due to its epic scale and fantastical elements. The giants' rampage across the land caused widespread destruction, leading the Watchers to teach their human wives charms, spells, and herbology. This depiction continues the tradition of portraying women as deceivers, a theme that can be traced back to the stories of Eve and Lilith in the Bible. Meanwhile, the Watchers also shared knowledge of metallurgy with men, leading to the creation of weapons and armor, and eventually causing wars among humans. The chaos caused by the Watchers and their offspring led them to turn on one another, blaming a particular Watcher named Azazel, who is often depicted with goat-like features and is believed to be the origin of the term scapegoat. As the situation on Earth spiraled out of control, God decided to intervene by wiping the slate clean. Noah, who is given a divine warning about the imminent flood, begins constructing the ark. The narrative then takes a sudden turn, with Enoch appearing in heaven without much explanation. God charges Enoch with delivering judgment upon the Watchers, condemning them to spend eternity as demons. This part of the story also introduces the concept of purgatory, where the souls of all people are collected until Judgment Day. In the following passages, Enoch is taken on a journey through time and space, where God reveals to him the visions of the end of time. Many of these visions are reminiscent of the imagery found in the books of Daniel and Revelation, although they appear much earlier in the biblical timeline. During this journey, God and Enoch begin calling out individuals by name, condemning them to a fate without mercy. Enoch is empowered by God and transformed into the leader of the archangels named Metatron. The Book of Enoch is divided into several sections, with the first and most famous being the Book of the Watchers. This section focuses on the fallen angels, the Nephilim, and the events that led to the Great Flood. The Watchers, described as both the sons of God and the sons of heaven, were angelic beings who were initially assigned to observe human development without interfering. However, their desire for human women led them to break this rule, resulting in the birth of the Nephilim. The Book of Enoch also delves into the nature of the Nephilim. These giants are seen as a perverted mix of angels and humans, and their existence is used to explain the presence of other giants in the Bible, such as Goliath. The Nephilim are portrayed as violent and destructive, a direct consequence of the Watchers' rebellion against God. However, there is ongoing debate about the true nature of the Nephilim. Some believe they were supernatural beings, while others argue that they were simply humans who had strayed from the path of righteousness. In addition to the Book of the Watchers, the Book of Enoch contains other sections, including the Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, the Dream Visions, and the Epistles of Enoch. These sections cover a wide range of topics, from celestial observations to prophetic visions. The book's detailed descriptions of the cosmos and its emphasis on the moral failings of both angels and humans have fascinated scholars and theologians for centuries. One of the most significant themes in the Book of Enoch is the idea of divine punishment. The Watchers, who were once trusted to observe humanity, are eventually condemned for their actions, serving as a warning to others who might consider defying God's will. This theme of judgment and retribution is a central element of the book and is echoed in other apocalyptic literature. Despite its exclusion from the Bible, the Book of Enoch remains an influential text, offering insights into the beliefs and myths of ancient cultures. Its stories of fallen angels, giants, and cosmic battles continue to captivate readers and inspire debates about the nature of good and evil, the role of divine beings, and the mysteries of the universe. While it may never be universally accepted as part of the biblical canon, the Book of Enoch endures as a powerful and thought-provoking work that challenges our understanding of the ancient world and its spiritual traditions. The story described in the text revolves around the mythological tale of the Watchers, a group of angels mentioned in the Book of Enoch, and their interactions with humans, leading to significant consequences for mankind. These angels, referred to as the sons of God, were originally tasked with observing humanity, but ultimately chose to interfere directly in human affairs, which led to catastrophic outcomes. The narrative begins by detailing how the Watchers, captivated by the beauty of mortal women, decided to descend to Earth and take these women as their wives. This decision was not without hesitation. The leader of the Watchers, Samyaza, sometimes spelled Samjaza, warned the others that their actions would bring severe punishment from God. Despite his caution, the other Watchers persuaded him to proceed, collectively agreeing to share the consequences of their transgression. A total of 200 Watchers descended to Earth, and their union with human women resulted in the birth of hybrid beings known as the Nephilim. The Nephilim are described in the Bible, particularly in Genesis 6:1-4, as giants who were heroes of old and men of renown. The Book of Enoch goes further, depicting these beings as destructive forces on Earth. The Nephilim, or giants, began to consume everything that humanity had built, eventually turning their violence on humans and even on each other. The tale continues by introducing Azazel, a significant figure among the Watchers. Azazel is credited with teaching mankind the arts of warfare, the use of weapons such as swords and knives, and the manipulation of the natural world through paints, stones, and dyes. His teachings, along with those of the other Watchers who introduced sorcery, incantations, and the knowledge of heavenly secrets, led to widespread corruption among humans. The actions of the Watchers, particularly Azazel, are said to have increased impiety and multiplied fornication, corrupting mankind in numerous ways. As humanity suffered under the influence of the Watchers and their offspring, the cries of the people reached the heavens. In response, the archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel looked down from heaven and saw the chaos unfolding on earth. They brought their concerns before God, placing much of the blame on Azazel and Samyaza. The archangels pointed out that Azazel had taught humanity all manner of iniquity and disclosed forbidden knowledge, while Samyaza had led the Watchers in their sinful actions. God, upon hearing this, decided to take action to restore order on earth. He instructed Uriel to warn Noah, the son of Lamech, about the impending destruction of the earth through a great flood. Uriel was to explain to Noah how to survive the flood and ensure the continuation of his lineage. Meanwhile, God commanded Raphael to bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the darkness by opening the desert of Dudiel, a region in the underworld. The text also touches on the Book of Parables, another section of the Book of Enoch. The Book of Parables is unique in that no fragments of it have been found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. It has traditionally been preserved by the Beta Israel community, who likely carried it from Egypt to Cush and later to the Ethiopian highlands. The origin of the Book of Parables is debated, with some scholars suggesting it is a Christian-era text written between 50 and 200 AD. However, the Beta Israel community's use of the book predates this period, and it likely formed part of their holy texts before 200 BC. The debate over the Book of Parables' origin stems from various pieces of evidence, much of which has been interpreted through a Christian lens by later translators. For instance, the phrase "Son of Man," which appears frequently in the Book of Parables, is often seen as a reference to Christian terminology. However, this interpretation is contested, with arguments that the text should not be viewed solely through a Christian perspective, as it existed in a different cultural and religious context. The story of the Watchers, a group of angels also referred to as the Sons of God, is an intriguing narrative that unfolds in the Book of Enoch. These angels, tasked with observing humanity, became enamored with the beauty of human women. This fascination led them to make a fateful decision. They chose to descend to earth and take these women as their wives, impregnating them and creating a race of beings that were neither fully angelic nor fully human. This act of defiance marked a significant departure from their original purpose, which was merely to watch over humanity without direct interference. The leader of the Watchers, known as Samyaza or Samjaza, initially expressed hesitation. He warned the other angels that their actions would lead to severe consequences, and that he, as their leader, would bear the brunt of the punishment from God. However, the other Watchers, emboldened by their shared desire, convinced him that they would all face the repercussions together. This pact among the Watchers resulted in their collective descent to Earth, where they took human wives and fathered children. These children, known as the Nephilim, were not ordinary beings. Described in various texts as giants, they were a hybrid of human and angelic nature. The Nephilim are mentioned in the Bible, specifically in Genesis 6:1-4, where they are referred to as heroes of old, men of renown. There is ongoing debate among scholars and theologians about the exact nature of the Nephilim, but the general consensus is that they were formidable beings who had a significant impact on the world. As the Nephilim grew in number, their presence on earth led to chaos and destruction. They consumed the resources of humanity and eventually turned on each other, leading to widespread violence and bloodshed. The Watchers, in their time on earth, also imparted forbidden knowledge to humanity. According to the Book of Enoch, these angels taught humans various forms of sorcery, incantations, and the use of plants and roots for magical purposes. This dissemination of knowledge, which was not meant for human understanding, further corrupted humanity. One of the most notable Watchers, Azazel, is specifically mentioned for his role in teaching humanity the art of warfare. He introduced the use of swords, knives, and other weapons, which led to an increase in violence and bloodshed. Azazel also taught humans about the use of cosmetics and dyes, allowing them to alter their appearance and manipulate their surroundings. The actions of Azazel and the other Watchers led to a rapid decline in morality and a significant increase in sin and corruption among humans. As the situation on Earth deteriorated, the cries of humanity reached the heavens. In response, the archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel observed the chaos and decided to take action. They approached God and reported the transgressions of the Watchers, particularly focusing on the actions of Azazel and Samyaza. They informed God of how Azazel had taught humanity iniquity and revealed secret knowledge that was meant to remain hidden. They also highlighted the actions of Samyaza, who had led the Watchers in their defiance of God's will. In response to the archangel's plea, God decided to cleanse the earth of the corruption that had been sown by the Watchers and their offspring. He instructed the archangel Uriel to warn Noah, the son of Lamech, of the impending flood that would destroy all life on earth. Noah was told to prepare an ark to save his family and the animals, ensuring the survival of life on earth after the flood. God then commanded the archangel Raphael to bind Azazel and cast him into the darkness. Azazel was to be imprisoned in a desert region known as Dudael, where he would remain until the final judgment. This act of binding Azazel was intended to prevent further corruption and to begin the process of restoring order to the world. The Book of Enoch, particularly the section known as the Book of Parables, offers a detailed account of these events. The Book of Parables is unique in that it does not have any fragments documented within the Dead Sea Scrolls, unlike other parts of the Book of Enoch. This has led to debates among scholars regarding its origins and authenticity. The text has been traditionally used by the Beta Israel community, a group of Ethiopian Jews who likely carried it south from Egypt to Cush and later to the Ethiopian highlands. The origin of the Book of Parables is widely debated, with some scholars suggesting that it was written during the Christian era, between 50 and 200 AD. However, this assumption is based on interpretations that apply Christian terminology to the text, which is not inherently Christian. For example, the phrase "Son of Man" is often seen as a reference to Jesus Christ in Christian texts, but in the Book of Parables, it is used in a different context. Despite these debates, the Book of Parables remains an important part of the broader Enochic literature, providing a vivid account of the Watchers, their fall from grace, and the subsequent events that shaped the early history of humanity. The story of the Watchers serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of defying divine order and the consequences of imparting forbidden knowledge to those who are not meant to possess it. The Book of Enoch, also known as First Enoch, is a significant ancient text often discussed in the context of biblical studies and apocryphal literature. This book is traditionally divided into several sections, each offering unique perspectives on divine judgment, cosmic secrets, and prophetic visions. Among the most debated elements of Enoch's writings is the identification and significance of the Son of Man figure. Some interpretations suggest that this figure is not Jesus Christ, but rather Seth, the patriarch who survived Noah's flood. In the Book of Parables, a central section of 1 Enoch, the Son of Man is interpreted by some scholars as Seth, rather than a messianic figure. The term Ben Adam, Son of Man, can be translated as Son of Adam, a designation fitting for Seth, who is introduced as the progenitor of all surviving humanity after the flood. This section, comprising chapters 37 to 71, is characterized by oracular material rather than the parables of Jesus. The text focuses on themes of judgment, the fate of the righteous, and the ultimate triumph of divine justice. Chapter 38 of the Book of Parables introduces the expectation of a righteous community that will witness the judgment of the sinners. This righteous figure will lead the judgment, similar to the betrayal theme found in Mark 14:21. which suggests that it would have been better for such betrayers never to have been born. This judgment scenario aligns with later literature, such as the Book of Ezra, which describes the torment faced by those who have denied divine authority. Chapters 39 to 41 describe Enoch's vision of the heavenly realms and the angelic beings who inhabit them. Enoch is depicted as being swept into heaven, where he encounters the Lord of spirits and innumerable angels. Notably, 4 prominent angels are described: Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel, each responsible for different aspects of divine intervention and cosmic order. Enoch's visions also include detailed knowledge of cosmic phenomena, including the sun and moon, which are critical to understanding the heavenly calendar. The astronomical book within 1 Enoch, spanning chapters 72 to 82, focuses on celestial bodies and their influence on timekeeping. This section is highly esoteric, dealing with calculations of the solar year and the lengths of months, reflecting a 364-day calendar system as opposed to the 360-day calendar prevalent among other groups like the Qumran community. This calendrical debate was crucial for religious observances, including the accurate timing of Passover. The discrepancy between the 364-day and 360-day calendars highlights the significance of correct observance for the community's religious practices. The Book of Dreams and Visions, another segment of Worth Enoch, retells world history through symbolic visions involving sheep representing various nations and peoples. This allegorical narrative includes the depiction of Israelite sheep contending with various predatory animals representing different empires. This section, along with fragments from the Book of Noah, suggests a connection to earlier traditions and narratives, including descriptions of Noah's birth and the flood, aligning with the larger cosmic and prophetic themes of the text. The final chapters, 106 and 107, recount the birth of Noah with extraordinary physical characteristics and his divine purpose. These narratives likely stem from a lost apocalypse focused on Noah, illustrating his role as the remnant for Lamech and the judgment that would follow. Noah's unusual appearance and his early speech are seen as signs of his significant role in divine plans. In contemporary discussions, such as those mentioned by Katie Williams and Joe Rogan, the exclusion of the Book of Enoch from the canonical Bible is sometimes interpreted through various lenses. Williams expressed frustration over the lack of representation of black figures in the Bible and suggested that the omission of Enoch was part of a broader agenda by early church authorities. Rogan's theory posits that the only non-black characters in the Bible were the Romans, making Noah's albino characteristics in the Book of Enoch a point of significance in discussions about racial representation in biblical texts. The Book of Enoch offers a rich tapestry of apocalyptic visions, celestial knowledge, and prophetic insights. Its content reflects a complex interplay between cosmic order, divine justice, and esoteric knowledge, revealing the intricate concerns of its ancient authors and their communities. The debates surrounding the text's interpretation, its historical significance, and its exclusion from the Bible continue to fuel scholarly and theological discussions.
If in the beginning there was nothing, and then God created the earth and the skies, and that's essentially what the Bible is trying to say. They're just doing it in a way.
And the Bible got it right.
In these scrolls, we find biblical manuscripts, copies of the Bible that are 1,000 years older than any previously known copy of the Bible, as well as a treasure trove of documents that we had never seen before.
In the 1700s, an ancient text long thought lost resurfaced in the remote Ethiopian region of Abyssinia, the Book of Enoch. This mysterious manuscript had been hidden from sight for centuries, and when it was rediscovered, it shook the foundations of the early Christian church. Priests and scholars who encountered its contents were gripped by fear, some driven to madness, while others were forever changed. What terrifying secrets does this ancient book reveal about humanity? How does Joe Rogan explain its unsettling knowledge? Join us as we dive into the forgotten 2,000-year-old scripture that left everyone trembling in its wake. This is how the people of the internet felt when witnessing this terrifying event. We are Jesus' eternal aura. In today's video, you will have appropriate answers to all the questions above. Before you know what happened, subscribe to the channel, like this video, through the video in the social media.
It's crazy to think that the Book of Enoch was hidden for centuries.
I can't believe this book has terrified the church.
Joe Rogan is right. The knowledge in this book is truly mind-bending.
I heard the Book of Enoch has driven many people to the brink of insanity. It's so creepy.
Who would have thought an ancient book could have such mind-destroying power?
Everyone was extremely excited at the scene that just happened here. Let's see what really happened.
Police in Turkey have recovered a Bible thought to be 1,000 years old. The holy book, which was found in the central Turkish city of Tokat.
The Book of Enoch is a fascinating ancient text that has long intrigued scholars, historians, and theologians. Discovered in Abyssinia, Ethiopia in 1773, this book, also known as the Ethiopic Book of Enoch, belongs to a category of literature known as pseudepigrapha. Pseudepigraphical works are writings attributed to authors who did not actually compose them, often done to provide a certain authority or legitimacy to the text. In other words, these works are forgeries, but they carry significance due to the name attached to them. In the case of the Book of Enoch, the text is attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. According to public figures like Joe Rogan, the Book of Enoch contains essential truths that have been suppressed by political agendas and the power struggles of humankind. Rogan, a popular on-air personality and podcast host, has frequently discussed the significance of this ancient text, and many scientists and scholars have appeared on his show to explore its importance. While Rogan's views on the Book of Enoch have sparked widespread discussion, the book is undeniably part of a broader group of pseudepigraphical works, which includes other texts like the Life of Adam and Eve, the Treatise of Shem, and the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. Together, these works reveal that the religious landscape of ancient Palestine during the Second Temple period was far more diverse than previously thought. Judaism was not a singular belief system, and apocalyptic Christianity emerged as a distinct belief during this era. The Book of Enoch stands apart from other Old Testament writings in several ways. Firstly, the events it describes took place long before the birth of Jesus Christ, giving it a unique perspective on biblical history. The original manuscript of the Book of Enoch disappeared toward the end of the 4th century, but fragments have been discovered in various languages, including Greek, Latin, Syriac, and most importantly, in Aramaic, through the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. These fragments provide important clues about the book's widespread use and influence in ancient times. But how did this book come to be lost, and why was it hidden in the first place? One of the most intriguing aspects of the Book of Enoch's history is its rediscovery by James Bruce, a renowned Scottish explorer and scholar. Bruce is credited with bringing the text back to the modern world, though the circumstances surrounding his discovery are steeped in mystery and intrigue. The book, originally attributed to Enoch, the son of Jared, was written long after Enoch's lifetime, raising questions about its true authorship. However, Bruce's discovery of the book opens the door to even more fascinating possibilities, particularly the suggestion that the devil himself may have been involved in the narrative. James Bruce set out on his journey not just to explore the world, but also to find ancient texts and relics that would shed light on long-lost traditions and knowledge. During his travels, Bruce arrived in Ethiopia in 1770, after passing through notable ancient cities such as Alexandria, Thebes, and Cairo. His official goal was to locate the Blue Nile, a major tributary of the Nile River, but his interests went far beyond geography. As a member of the Cannon Gate kill-winning Masonic Lodge, Bruce had a particular interest in ancient mysteries, particularly those involving the Book of Enoch. Masonic tradition holds Enoch in high regard, associating him with the creation of written language and secret wisdom. Bruce believed that by uncovering the Book of Enoch, he would be validating long-held Masonic beliefs. What Bruce actually found, however, was much more perplexing. The Book of Enoch's narrative challenges many of the core tenets of Christianity and ancient Judaism, particularly the nature of the devil. In the modern world, we are accustomed to seeing the devil as the embodiment of evil, a figure responsible for all the world's suffering. However, the Book of Enoch paints a very different picture. According to the book, the devil was not always an adversary of God or humankind. Instead, he may have been a mentor and ally to humanity at one point in time, a shocking departure from the traditional narrative of the fall of Satan. Bruce's discovery of this narrative posed a significant challenge to the established religious order of the time. The Book of Enoch suggests that wisdom and knowledge may have originated from the fallen angels, particularly those who rebelled against God and were punished by the Great Flood. This contradicts the dominant religious belief that all wisdom came from God alone. The controversial nature of this revelation is likely why the Book of Enoch was never fully incorporated into the canon of Christian scriptures and remained unpublished during Bruce's lifetime. Revealing such ideas would have created significant unrest, as they undermined the authority of both the church and the social structure that relied on it. While Bruce's discovery was groundbreaking, the Book of Enoch did not achieve widespread recognition until the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in the 1940s. These ancient manuscripts were uncovered by chance when a group of Bedouin shepherds stumbled upon a cave near the ancient settlement of Qumran while tending their flocks. One of the young boys threw a rock into an opening in the cliff, and the sound of breaking pottery echoed back. Upon investigating further, they found several large clay jars, inside of which were leather and papyrus scrolls, including additional fragments of the Book of Enoch. The Qumran cave is located in the West Bank, on the northwestern shore of the Dead Sea. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls is one of the most important archaeological finds of the 20th century, providing scholars with invaluable insight into the beliefs and practices of the Essenes, an ancient Jewish sect, and the broader context of Second Temple Judaism. The scrolls also reaffirm the significance of the Book of Enoch, showing that it was a respected and influential text in the ancient world, even if it was later excluded from mainstream religious traditions. In conclusion, the Book of Enoch is a text shrouded in mystery and controversy. From its origins in the Second Temple period to its rediscovery by James Bruce and its reappearance among the Dead Sea Scrolls, the book has challenged our understanding of ancient religious traditions and the nature of good and evil. While it remains a footnote in mainstream historical accounts, the Book of Enoch continues to inspire curiosity and debate, offering a unique glimpse into the complexities of ancient Jewish and Christian thought. There are currently two different public opinions about this miraculous event.
I completely agree that everyone needs to grasp new technology trends. Technology not only makes life more convenient, but also creates countless career opportunities. Those who do not keep up will be left behind.
Technology is developing too fast, making people dependent and gradually losing real connection. Instead of spending time with family and friends, people are immersed in their phone screens. I think we need to control this development rather than chasing after it.
This comment clearly shows the opposing views. One side believes in religious and prophetic meaning, while the other side seeks scientific explanations.
Israeli archaeologists working to prevent caves in the area from being looted filmed the moment of their discovery. They'd found ancient verses from the books of the prophets Zechariah and Nahum in the Hebrew Bible.
The Book of Enoch, an ancient text filled with mystical revelations, has been a subject of intrigue and controversy for centuries. Discovered along with many other scroll fragments that are over 2,000 years old, the book has been dismissed by some religious scholars who claim that its content is not divinely inspired. Despite its exclusion from the Bible, the Book of Enoch unveils profound insights about the world's creation, celestial beings, and apocalyptic events, leading to ongoing debates about its relevance. It reveals stories of sensual fallen angels, violent giants, strange cosmological truths, and other mystical revelations that challenge traditional interpretations of biblical events. Some scholars argue that the tales within the Book of Enoch reflect elements of Babylonian mythology. This raises questions about its origins and authenticity, but others maintain that the book contains answers to scientific wonders that modern humanity is only beginning to understand. Joe Rogan, for instance, has argued that although the book borrows from Babylonian myths, these myths might hold clues to understanding the mysteries of the world. If Christians once revered the book, as some claim, Rogan asks why it has been dismissed as a fallacy. The figure of Enoch, to whom the book is attributed, plays a central role in its narrative. Often stepping into the role of a prophesied Messiah long before the time of Jesus, Enoch is a man of extraordinary importance. In various interpretations, he is seen as someone who ascended to heaven by God's grace to learn the secrets of the end of time. For others, however, the story of Enoch is nothing more than ancient fan fiction, a product of creative imaginations attempting to fill in the gaps between the biblical accounts of the Garden of Eden and Noah's flood. Enoch himself is mentioned in the Bible as the seventh of the 10 pre-flood patriarchs, descending from Adam. Despite his relatively early placement in biblical history, the Book of Enoch begins with a vivid and ominous description of the end times, detailing the destruction of the earth and the final judgment of sinful men. The book introduces us to the Watchers, a group of 200 angels assigned to observe human history. However, instead of merely watching, these angels are soon overtaken by lust for human women. Descending to earth, they take the women as their wives, an act that sets off a chain of catastrophic events. The offspring of these unions between the angels and human women are giants, or Nephilim, who are described as ravenous beings that devour everything in their path. When resources became scarce, these giants began eating the people, wreaking havoc across the land. This brutal depiction offers an explanation for the existence of biblical giants like Goliath, portraying them as the result of an unholy mix of angelic and human bloodlines. As chaos spread, the Watchers taught their wives magical knowledge, such as charms, spells, and herbology, further contributing to the breakdown of human society. This depiction of women being corrupted by forbidden knowledge echoes sexist themes from the stories of Eve and Lilith, continuing the portrayal of women as deceivers. Meanwhile, the Watchers also gifted mortal men with the knowledge of metallurgy, helping them craft weapons and armor. This newfound technology led to widespread warfare, as men turned on one another in violent conflict. Realizing the destruction they had caused, the Watchers attempted to escape punishment by blaming one of their own, Azazel, for the disaster. Azazel, often depicted with goat-like features, became the scapegoat for their sins. This blame-shifting echoes the biblical concept of a scapegoat, a figure who bears the sins of others. However, despite their efforts, the Watchers could not escape divine retribution. God, witnessing the destruction wrought by the Watchers, the giants, and the warring humans, decides to cleanse the earth with a great flood, wiping the slate clean. Noah, one of the few righteous men left on earth, is warned by God about the impending flood and instructed to build an ark to save himself and his family. This familiar story from Genesis takes on new dimensions in the Book of Enoch, as it ties directly into the broader narrative of fallen angels, giants, and humanity's descent into chaos. Amid this turmoil, Enoch suddenly appears in heaven without much buildup or explanation. God tasks him with delivering judgment to the Watchers, condemning them to spend the rest of eternity as demons. This marks the beginning of Enoch's ascension to a powerful figure in heaven. Enoch is also shown visions of the end of time, and these apocalyptic scenes bear a striking resemblance to the visions found in the books of Daniel and Revelation. Yet, in the Book of Enoch, these revelations come much earlier in the timeline, placing them before the events of the rest of the Bible. As Enoch's heavenly journey continues, God and Enoch begin naming sinners and pronouncing their judgment. Enoch is empowered by God, transforming into Metatron, the leader of the archangels. This dramatic transformation underscores Enoch's unique role in the celestial order, one that combines elements of prophecy, judgment, and divine leadership. The Book of Enoch is a compilation of several books, each filled with its own unique revelations. The main sections include the Book of Watchers, the Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, the Dream Visions, and the Epistle of Enoch, totaling 100 chapters. The Book of Watchers, in particular, is one of the most famous sections, as it introduces strange beings, hybrids, and the rebellious angels whose actions led to the destruction of the world. One of the most fascinating elements of the Book of Enoch is the portrayal of the Nephilim, the giant offspring of angels and humans. The word Nephilim is often translated as fallen ones, and these beings are depicted as towering figures, feared for their strength and violence. This interpretation of the Nephilim has sparked debates among scholars. Some believe that their enormous size is due to their supernatural origins, while others argue that it's inappropriate to think of angels or demons having children with humans. Another interpretation is that the Nephilim were merely humans who strayed from the path of righteousness. The story of the Nephilim, along with the larger narrative of the Watchers and Enoch's apocalyptic visions, continues to captivate readers and scholars alike. The Book of Enoch, although excluded from the Bible, remains a source of speculation and intrigue. Its tales of fallen angels, giants, and divine judgment offer a rich tapestry of mythology, religion, and mystery that challenges traditional views of biblical history. Whether seen as a divine revelation, ancient mythology, or creative fiction, the Book of Enoch has left an indelible mark on religious thought and continues to inspire debate about the mysteries of the universe.
Now, this is quite a discovery. Fragments of a biblical scroll, along with other relics, have been found in desert caves in Israel.
Turkish authorities have confirmed that an ancient Bible thought to be 1,500 years old.
The Watchers are angelic beings described in ancient texts, particularly in the Book of Enoch, as both the sons of God and the sons of heaven. In chapter 7 of the Book of Enoch, the Watchers, also known as the Gregory, or Gregory in 2 Enoch, were tasked with observing humanity without intervening. Their role was to serve as heavenly guides, ensuring the proper development of human beings, but they were strictly prohibited from interfering with human affairs, no matter how much they may have felt compelled to do so. Despite their lofty purpose, the Watchers eventually fell from grace due to their interactions with human women, as described in one of the more controversial chapters of this ancient text. The trouble begins when humans began to multiply on earth, and the daughters of men were noted for their exceptional beauty. The Watchers, captivated by these women, found it difficult to resist their allure. Their beauty was so great that it sparked a conversation among the Watchers, during which they decided to forsake their divine duties and take the women as wives. This decision was a direct violation of their purpose, to merely watch and not engage. The leader of the Watchers, Samyaza, also referred to as Samyaza or Samjaza, initially cautioned the other angels against this action, knowing that the consequences of such a transgression would be severe. He warned them that he would bear the punishment for their collective sin. However, the other Watchers reassured him that they would all share in the blame and together face whatever repercussions came their way. Ultimately, Samyaza relented, and the group of 200 Watchers descended to earth. They not only took human women as their wives, but also impregnated them, resulting in the birth of hybrid beings known as the Nephilim. These Nephilim, sometimes referred to as giants, were a mixture of angels and humans, possessing extraordinary strength and size. Their presence on Earth would have catastrophic consequences. The Watchers, in addition to fathering these hybrid beings, also taught mankind forbidden knowledge. They introduced the women to sorcery, incantations, and the art of dividing roots. In essence, the Watchers revealed secrets of heaven that were never meant for human beings to know. This transgression was twofold. Not only had the Watchers corrupted God's creation by interbreeding with humans, but they had also imparted dangerous knowledge that would further corrupt humanity. The women gave birth to Nephilim, beings of immense power who soon began to wreak havoc on the earth. Genesis 6:1-4 also alludes to these events, stating that the Nephilim were on earth in those days and after, when the sons of God, interpreted by many as the Watchers, took the daughters of men and had children by them. These Nephilim are sometimes described as heroes of old, men of renown, but their influence on the world was far from heroic. As the Nephilim grew in number, they became a destructive force. They consumed all that humans had built and, when resources ran low, turned to violence. They began to kill men, and, when that wasn't enough, they turned on each other, causing chaos and bloodshed. It was during this period of violence that another significant event occurred: the introduction of warfare. In chapter 8 of Enoch, the Watcher Azazel is singled out as the one who taught mankind the use of swords, knives, and other instruments of war. As the Watchers had taught humans the secrets of heaven, including incantations and sorcery, Azazel taught humans how to manipulate the physical world through weapons and warfare. He also introduced humans to the use of paint, stones, and dyes, allowing them to alter their environment and craft tools for their survival. Yet this newfound knowledge only brought destruction. Azazel's teachings further corrupted humanity, leading to increased impiety and fornication, multiplying humanity's transgressions. Alongside him, other Watchers continued to teach humans astrology, science, and astronomy. However, instead of advancing mankind in positive ways, this knowledge only led to further ruin. The result of the Watchers' interference with humanity was widespread destruction, and the cries of mankind's suffering reached the heavens. In response, the archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel looked down from heaven and saw the devastation caused by the Watchers. In chapter 9 of the book of Enoch, these 4 archangels took their concerns before God. They pointed out that Azazel had been the source of much of the corruption, teaching humans forbidden knowledge, and they also blamed Samyaza for leading the other Watchers into sin by encouraging them to take human wives. The Watchers' actions had created ungodly giants, the Nephilim, and brought untold suffering to the world. The archangels asked God what could be done to restore order on earth. In chapter 10, God responded by commanding Uriel to warn Noah, the son of Lamech, about the impending flood that would wipe out all life on earth as punishment for the Watchers' sins. Uriel was instructed to tell Noah to hide himself and preserve his seed so that humanity could continue after the floodwaters receded. Meanwhile, God tasked Raphael with binding Azazel. Azazel was to be bound hand and foot and cast into darkness, specifically into the desert region known as Dudael, which is often associated with the underworld, or a place of eternal punishment. The Book of Parables, another part of the Book of Enoch, adds further layers to this story. Interestingly, no fragments of the Book of Parables have been found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, though it has long been a part of the Beta Israel community's tradition. This Ethiopian Jewish community carried the Book of Enoch south from Egypt to Cush, and later to the Ethiopian highlands, where it remained a key part of their religious heritage. It is believed that the Book of Parables was part of the Beta Israel collection before 200 BC, as their primary holy text, the Orate, was based on an early Greek version of the Septuagint from around 225 to 200 BC. While scholars debate the origin of the Book of Parables, some argue that it was written during the Christian era, between 50 and 200 AD. However, many of these claims are based on assumptions, and certain interpretations of the text have been influenced by Christian translators. For example, the phrase "Son of Man," which appears throughout the Book of Parables, is often seen through a Christian lens, even though the book predates Christian theology. In summary, The tale of the Watchers, as detailed in the Book of Enoch, is a story of angelic beings who fell from grace after defying their divine mandate. Instead of merely watching over humanity, they succumbed to temptation, mated with human women, and introduced forbidden knowledge to mankind. Their actions led to the birth of the Nephilim, beings of great power who brought destruction to the world. This corruption and chaos prompted the intervention of the archangels, who sought God's guidance to restore order, leading to the eventual punishment of the Watchers and the cleansing of the earth through a great flood. The story of the Watchers continues to captivate readers and remains a subject of theological and historical debate.
The ancient book of Enoch is a book that was quite popular during the first 700 years of church history, but then faded from sight. Nobody republished it. It disappeared until the book of Enoch was rediscovered in the Ethiopian region of Abyssinia in the 1700s.
The discussion surrounding the interpretation of ancient texts, particularly those relating to Jesus Christ and prophetic literature, is both complex and nuanced. A significant point raised is the interpretation of a specific text, which, when closely examined, may not align directly with the narrative of Jesus Christ as understood in Christian theology. This text could be perceived as prophetic, but it predominantly seems to reference the flood of Noah rather than heralding the arrival of the Messiah, a conclusion often drawn in various messianic Jewish works. Within the Book of Parables, the figure referred to as the Son of Man is posited to be Seth, the patriarch who represents all humans that survived the cataclysmic event of the flood. The term Ben Adam, which translates to Son of Man, also conveys the meaning of Son of Adam, emphasizing Seth's lineage as the firstborn son in the genealogical accounts presented in early chapters of the biblical narrative. Moving forward into the text, the Book of Enoch, particularly chapter 37, offers 3 distinct parables. However, it is essential to recognize that these are not parables in the traditional sense, akin to those told by Jesus, but rather contain oracle-like material with a profound and serious tone. The chapters that follow, specifically chapters 38 to 44, delve into themes of judgment, addressing both the righteous and the unrighteous. Chapters 45 to 57 further explore the fates of those who deny the name of the Lord, while chapters 58 and 59 focus on the destiny of the elect. The concluding chapters weave in legendary elements surrounding the translation of Enoch, offering a rich narrative tapestry that blends history with theology. The first of the parables concerns the imminent judgment, highlighting the dichotomy between the righteous community and the sinners of the world. Chapter 38 opens with an anticipation of the righteous appearing and a proclamation of judgment against the unrighteous. The righteous one is described as leading this judgment, a theme resonant with biblical references where betrayal, such as that depicted in Mark 14:21, reflects the dire consequences for those who oppose divine authority. This motif is echoed in later Ezra literature, which similarly details the torment awaiting those who reject the divine name. In this judgment, the secrets of the righteous will be unveiled, leading to the demise of earthly kings, reinforcing the idea that divine judgment is both inevitable and universal. Enoch's experiences escalate in chapter 39, where he receives the books of zeal and wrath, among others. This chapter vividly describes Enoch's transport from the earthly realm to the heavenly domain, showcasing a vision of the dwelling places of the righteous amidst the angelic hosts. Under the protective wings of the Lord of Spirits, the righteous will offer eternal praise, establishing a contrast between their fate and that of the unrighteous. In verse 6 of this chapter, Enoch witnesses the elect one of righteousness and faith, suggesting an integral connection to the earlier description of the righteous one, reinforcing a continuity of divine authority and judgment. The subsequent chapter introduces a vision of countless angels, including 4 specific beings who are characterized as eternal sentinels before the Lord of Spirits. These figures, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Phanuel, embody various divine attributes and responsibilities, reflecting the multifaceted nature of heavenly governance. Michael is portrayed as merciful and forbearing, while Raphael is tasked with healing. Gabriel represents divine power, and Phanuel oversees the hope of eternal life. This celestial hierarchy underscores the text's thematic focus on divine order and the assurance of righteousness amid chaos. As Enoch is further introduced to celestial mysteries in chapter 41, he learns about the nature of kingdoms and the weighing of human actions against divine standards. This chapter engages in personification, depicting wisdom searching for a place among humanity, yet ultimately returning to dwell with the angels, highlighting the tension between divine wisdom and human folly. The following chapters elaborate on cosmic secrets, exploring themes of natural phenomena, including lightning and the nomenclature of heavenly bodies. This material, particularly the astronomical book spanning chapters 72 to 82, serves as an extensive exploration of celestial mechanics, aiming to calculate the length of a year. In chapter 81, Enoch is instructed to report celestial readings to his son, Methuselah. This transmission of knowledge signifies the importance of divine revelation in guiding earthly affairs. The deterministic framework outlined in these passages appears to be predicated on astrological predictions, reflecting a worldview deeply intertwined with the cosmos. The significance of this knowledge lies in its potential to influence human behavior and communal worship, aligning with heavenly standards. The crux of this section in the Book of Enoch focuses on the appropriate calendar, positing a 364-day year against a 360-day model. While this may seem esoteric to modern readers, the calendrical precision was critical in the first century, directly impacting worship practices and ritual observances. The Qumran community, for instance, adhered to a 364-day calendar, condemning the priestly aristocracy for using a 360-day year, which they viewed as a significant error with spiritual ramifications. This debate highlights the intersection of time, divine instruction, and the observance of holy days, such as Passover. The underlying question posed by this conflict is whether celebrating Passover on the incorrect date constitutes a sin, a concern that echoes throughout the literature of the time. The Book of Dreams and Visions, an integral part of the Enoch literature, reflects an innovative narrative approach, presenting the history of the world through the lens of sheep, symbolizing the people of Israel, navigating threats posed by various predatory forces. This allegorical framework offers insight into the struggles faced by the Israelites against formidable foes such as Egyptian wolves, Philistine dogs, Babylonian lions, and Persian eagles. This unique perspective not only enriches the narrative, but also serves to amplify themes of survival and divine protection amid adversity. Moreover, the astronomical book, attributed to Methuselah, continues this trend but shifts back to a more prophetic tone, intertwining historical events with celestial phenomena. The first 6 chapters, which appear to be attached to the astronomical material, introduce a vision reminiscent of the flood narrative, where the sky collapses and the earth is engulfed in water. This apocalyptic imagery resonates with the descriptions found in both the Book of Enoch and canonical texts, solidifying the connection to Noah's flood, while also framing it as a judgment against sin. In the concluding chapters, fragments of additional documents emerge, including a narrative detailing the birth of Noah, possibly derived from a lost Noah apocalypse. Noah is described with striking attributes, possessing white skin, red hair, and glowing eyes, which astonishes his father, Lamech. The unusual characteristics prompt Lamech to seek advice from Methuselah, leading to an encounter with Enoch, who foretells the flood as divine retribution and names the boy Noah. This prophetic naming underscores the theological significance attributed to Noah within the context of the impending judgment, portraying him as a remnant amid widespread corruption. A contemporary perspective on the Book of Enoch has emerged, especially regarding its exclusion from the biblical canon. In discussions surrounding its omission, some assert that the removal of Enoch was a strategic move by early church leaders to control narratives and consolidate religious power. In a podcast session, for instance, commentator Katie Williams articulated frustration over the historical sidelining of certain voices, particularly those of people of color, within biblical texts. He argued that the perceived racial identity of biblical figures, including Noah's depiction as albino among a predominantly black community, serves as a significant commentary on the historical dynamics at play within the biblical narrative. In conclusion, the Book of Enoch presents a rich and intricate tapestry of prophetic literature, intertwining themes of judgment, divine authority, and cosmic order. Through its exploration of celestial mechanics, moral instruction, and allegorical narratives, it offers profound insights into the theological landscape of its time. The connections drawn between Enoch, Noah, and the broader themes of righteousness and judgment reflect the ongoing struggle for identity and divine favor in the face of adversity, resonating with the enduring quest for understanding within the human experience. As discussions about these texts continue, they provide fertile ground for further exploration of their implications and significance within both historical and contemporary contexts. What thoughts must have raced through Caiaphas's mind as he heard about Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem? How did he react to the stories of Jesus overturning the tables of the money changers in the temple, Caiaphas's own domain? The temple was not just a religious center, but also a hub of economic activity, and Jesus' actions directly threatened this. Caiaphas would have had to tread carefully. On one hand, he needed to maintain order and demonstrate his authority. On the other, any harsh action against Jesus could risk inflaming public sentiment and provoking a backlash. Moreover, Caiaphas had to consider the reaction of the Roman authorities, who were always on high alert for potential uprisings. As Jesus continued to attract followers and his message spread, Caiaphas faced mounting pressure. His position demanded that he protect the sanctity of the temple and the stability of Judea. The delicate balance he had maintained between the Jewish people and their Roman overlords was at risk of collapsing. Caiaphas had to act decisively, but with caution. In a tense and pivotal moment, Caiaphas convened the Sanhedrin to discuss the threat posed by Jesus. The council deliberated on how to address the situation without inciting further unrest. Caiaphas, understanding the gravity of the situation, argued that it was better for one man to die for the people than for the whole nation to perish. This pragmatic, albeit ruthless stance highlighted his priority of preserving the greater good as he saw it. Ultimately, Caiaphas's maneuvering led to Jesus' arrest and trial. The high priest played a central role in these proceedings, questioning Jesus and seeking a justification for handing him over to the Roman authorities. The decision to involve the Romans was a calculated move, ensuring that any backlash would be mitigated by the perception that the ultimate decision lay with the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. What thoughts must have run through Caiaphas's mind as he heard about Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem? How did he react to the stories of Jesus overturning the tables of the money changers in the temple, Caiaphas's own domain? We can only imagine the late-night discussions Caiaphas must have had with other religious leaders, debating what to do about this potential threat to their authority. Little did Caiaphas know that his decisions in the coming days would forever link his name with one of the most significant events in human history. As tensions rose in Jerusalem, Caiaphas found himself at a crossroads. The choices he would make in dealing with Jesus would not only shape his own legacy, but would have far-reaching consequences that would echo through the centuries. But what exactly drove Caiaphas to take action against Jesus? Was it purely a matter of protecting his own power and position, or were there deeper religious and political motivations at play? Caiaphas confronts Jesus. As the streets of Jerusalem buzzed with excitement and tension, Caiaphas found himself facing a decision that would change the course of history. The charismatic preacher from Galilee, Jesus of Nazareth, had become more than just a minor irritation. He was now a full-blown threat to the delicate balance of power that Caiaphas had worked so hard to maintain. But what exactly was it about Jesus that worried Caiaphas so much? First and foremost, Jesus' teachings seemed to challenge the very foundations of the temple's authority. He spoke of a direct relationship with God, one that didn't necessarily require the elaborate rituals and sacrifices that were the bread and butter of the priestly class. For Caiaphas, this wasn't just a theological disagreement, it was a threat to his entire way of life and his position of power. Moreover, Jesus was attracting huge crowds. Imagine the scene. Thousands of people gathering to hear him speak, hanging on his every word. To Caiaphas, this must have been deeply alarming. In a land already simmering with rebellion against Roman rule, a charismatic leader with a large following could easily spark a full-scale uprising. And that was perhaps Caiaphas's greatest fear, that Jesus' popularity would provoke a harsh Roman response. The Romans weren't known for their gentle touch when it came to squashing rebellions. If they decided to crack down, it wouldn't just be Jesus and his followers who suffered. The entire Jewish population could face severe consequences. So, as Passover approached and tensions in the city reached a fever pitch, Caiaphas knew he had to act. According to the Gospel accounts, Caiaphas played a central role in the plot to arrest Jesus. He's described as gathering with other religious leaders to discuss how to deal with the troublesome preacher. It was during one of these meetings that Caiaphas reportedly uttered the fateful words, "It is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish." These words give us a glimpse into Caiaphas's thinking. He saw the situation in stark, practical terms. In his mind, sacrificing one man, even if that man was innocent, was a small price to pay to prevent a potential catastrophe for the entire nation. So how did Caiaphas go about putting this plan into action? The Gospels tell us that he and the other leaders looked for a way to arrest Jesus quietly, away from the crowds. They found their opportunity when one of Jesus' own disciples, Judas Iscariot, offered to betray him. Picture the scene: a clandestine meeting between Judas and the religious leaders, perhaps in a dimly lit room in the temple complex. Money changing hands, plans being made in hushed voices. Caiaphas must have felt a mix of relief and apprehension. The wheels were now in motion. But would their plan succeed? The arrest itself took place at night in the Garden of Gethsemane. Caiaphas had sent a group of armed men, guided by Judas, to seize Jesus. In the confusion and darkness, with torches flickering and weapons gleaming, Jesus was taken into custody. What happened next was a whirlwind of events that would be debated and analyzed for centuries to come. Jesus was brought before Caiaphas and the Sanhedrin for questioning. The Gospel accounts paint a picture of a tense and dramatic confrontation. Imagine the scene. Jesus standing before Caiaphas and the other religious leaders, perhaps in the high priest's own house. The air thick with tension, accusations flying back and forth. Caiaphas, in his role as high priest, would have been at the center of this impromptu trial. According to the Gospels, Caiaphas directly questioned Jesus, demanding to know if he claimed to be the Messiah, the Son of God. When Jesus' answer was deemed blasphemous, Caiaphas reportedly tore his robes, a dramatic gesture of outrage and condemnation. But Caiaphas and the Sanhedrin didn't have the authority to carry out a death sentence. For that, they needed the approval of the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. So, in the early hours of the morning, Jesus was taken to Pilate's headquarters. Here we see another side of Caiaphas's political skill. The charge of blasphemy that so outraged the Jewish leaders wouldn't have meant much to a Roman governor. So, the accusations against Jesus were reframed in political terms. He was presented as a threat to Roman rule, someone claiming to be the king of the Jews. This strategy worked. Despite his initial reluctance, Pilate eventually gave in to the pressure and ordered Jesus' crucifixion. Caiaphas had achieved his goal. The troublesome preacher from Galilee was eliminated, and the threat of Roman retaliation had been averted. Or so he thought. Little did Caiaphas know that his actions, far from ending the Jesus movement, would instead fuel its explosive growth. The crucifixion, rather than being the end of the story, was just the beginning. In the days and weeks that followed Jesus' crucifixion, as reports of his resurrection began to circulate and his followers grew bolder in spreading his message, Caiaphas must have realized that his problems were far from over. The immediate consequences of Caiaphas's actions began to unfold, affecting his position as high priest and his relationship with both the Jewish people and the Roman authorities. The aftermath. In the wake of Jesus' crucifixion, Caiaphas might have expected things to return to normal. He believed he had successfully eliminated a major threat to the stability of Judea. However, as the dust settled on that fateful Passover, Caiaphas soon realized that his troubles were far from over. The city was abuzz with rumors and whispers. Stories of Jesus' resurrection were spreading like wildfire, and his followers, rather than dispersing as Caiaphas might have hoped, seemed to be growing in number and boldness. For Caiaphas, this must have been deeply unsettling. He had gambled everything on the idea that executing Jesus would put an end to the movement. Instead, it seemed to have given it new life. How could this be? The book of Acts tells us that the early Christian community in Jerusalem grew rapidly in the aftermath of Jesus' death. They preached openly in the temple courts, the very heart of Caiaphas's domain. This was a direct threat to Caiaphas's authority. But Caiaphas wasn't one to sit idly by. The book of Acts describes how he and other religious leaders tried to suppress the early Christian movement. They arrested apostles, threatened them, and even had them flogged. Yet nothing seemed to work. The more they tried to stamp out the movement, the more it grew. This must have been incredibly frustrating for Caiaphas. He was used to being in control, to having his orders obeyed. Now, he was faced with a group of seemingly ordinary people who refused to be silenced, no matter what he did. But it wasn't just the growth of the Christian movement that was causing problems for Caiaphas. His actions during Jesus' trial and crucifixion had likely damaged his reputation among many of the Jewish people. Passover was supposed to be a time of celebration and unity for the Jewish people. Instead, Caiaphas had turned it into a time of violence and division. Many people, even if they weren't followers of Jesus, might have been uncomfortable with the way the whole situation was handled. Moreover, Caiaphas's close cooperation with the Romans in executing Jesus might have been seen by some as a betrayal of Jewish interests. In a time when many Jews were hoping for liberation from Roman rule, Caiaphas had worked hand in hand with the occupiers to execute a popular Jewish teacher. All of this put Caiaphas in a difficult position. He needed the support of the Jewish people to maintain his authority, but his actions had likely alienated many of them. At the same time, he needed to keep the Romans happy to stay in power. It was a delicate balancing act, and it was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. Despite these challenges, Caiaphas managed to hold on to his position as high priest for several more years, but his influence was waning. The movement he had tried to stamp out was growing stronger by the day, and his own authority was slowly but surely crumbling. In the year 36 CE, about 3 years after Jesus' crucifixion, Caiaphas was finally removed from his position as high priest. The exact reasons for his removal aren't clear, but it's likely that a combination of factors, including his handling of the Jesus situation and changing political tides, contributed to his downfall. For Caiaphas, this must have been a bitter pill to swallow. He had devoted his life to climbing to the top of the religious and political hierarchy, only to see it all slip away. As he stepped down from his role, he must have wondered, had he made the right decision? Could things have turned out differently if he had handled the situation with Jesus in another way? But even as Caiaphas faded from power, the consequences of his actions continued to unfold. The movement he had tried to suppress was spreading beyond Jerusalem, beyond Judea, to the wider Roman world. What thoughts must have gone through Caiaphas's mind as he watched these events unfold, and what became of him after he left his position as high priest? The legacy of Caiaphas, historical impact, and archaeological findings. In the centuries following Caiaphas's time as high priest, his name became forever linked with the trial and crucifixion of Jesus. One of the most exciting archaeological discoveries related to Caiaphas came in 1990. In a burial cave in the Peace Forest area of Jerusalem, archaeologists uncovered an ossuary, a limestone bone box with a remarkable inscription. Carved into the side were the words, "Joseph, son of Caiaphas," believed to refer to the very Caiaphas mentioned in the New Testament. This find was groundbreaking. For the first time, we had physical evidence directly linked to the high priest who played such a crucial role in Jesus' trial. The ossuary, dated to the 1st century CE, contained the bones of a 60-year-old man, along with those of several younger individuals, likely family members. This discovery provided a tangible connection to the historical figure of Caiaphas and offered new insights into his life and times. The legacy of Caiaphas is a complex one. On the one hand, he is remembered as the high priest who presided over the trial of Jesus, a pivotal event in Christian history. On the other hand, archaeological findings and historical records have helped to paint a fuller picture of his role in the religious and political life of his time. Caiaphas was a man navigating a turbulent period, trying to maintain order and authority amidst growing tensions between the Jewish people and Roman rule. As history has shown, Caiaphas's attempts to suppress the Christian movement were ultimately unsuccessful. The movement continued to grow, spreading throughout the Roman Empire and beyond. The decisions made by Caiaphas, intended to protect his position and maintain stability, had far-reaching consequences that shaped the course of history. The discovery of the Caiaphas ossuary sparked intense interest among archaeologists and biblical scholars. Subjected to rigorous testing and analysis to confirm its authenticity, the Israel Antiquities Authority declared it genuine. However, as with many archaeological finds, some scholars raised questions about its provenance. Nevertheless, this discovery provides valuable insights into the historical figure of Caiaphas. Firstly, the discovery confirms that Caiaphas was a real historical figure, not just a character in religious texts. The ossuary's elaborate nature also speaks to Caiaphas's high status in Jerusalem society. The bone box, ornately decorated with intricate floral designs, indicates that it belonged to a wealthy and influential family. This detail aligns with historical accounts of Caiaphas's position and influence. The ossuary also sheds light on the burial practices of the time. The use of ossuaries was common among wealthy Jews in the 1st century CE. Bodies were first laid in a tomb. After about a year, when only bones remained, they were collected and placed in an ossuary. This practice reflects beliefs about the afterlife and the importance of proper burial in Jewish tradition. Such insights help us understand the cultural and religious context in which Caiaphas lived. Another significant archaeological find related to Caiaphas is the ancient steps leading to what is believed to be his house on Mount Zion. These steps, uncovered by archaeologists, are thought to be the very ones Jesus would have climbed when he was brought to Caiaphas for questioning. Walking these steps today provides visitors with a tangible connection to the dramatic events described in the Gospels. The site, now known as the Church of St. Peter in Gallicantu, has been a place of pilgrimage for centuries. Excavations have revealed a complex of ruins dating back to the 1st century, including what may have been a guard room and even a dungeon. While we can't be certain this was indeed Caiaphas's house, the archaeological evidence suggests it was the residence of a person of high status during Jesus' time. Beyond these physical artifacts, we learn about Caiaphas from historical writings. The Jewish historian Josephus mentions Caiaphas several times in his works, confirming his tenure as high priest from 18 to 36 CE. Josephus provides valuable context about the political climate of the time, helping us understand the pressures and challenges Caiaphas would have faced. In his work, Antiquities of the Jews, Josephus describes how Caiaphas was appointed high priest by the Roman prefect Valerius Gratus, predecessor to Pontius Pilate. This appointment underscores the complex relationship between Jewish religious authorities and Roman political power. High priests were no longer chosen solely based on religious qualifications, but also on their ability to maintain order and cooperate with Roman authorities. Josephus also mentions Caiaphas's removal from office in 36 CE by the Syrian governor Vitellius. This event coincided with the recall of Pontius Pilate to Rome, suggesting a significant shift in Roman policy towards Judea at that time. The fact that Caiaphas held his position for 18 years, an unusually long tenure for a high priest in that era, indicates his skill in navigating the treacherous political waters of his time. The New Testament, particularly the Gospels and the Book of Acts, provides another source of information about Caiaphas, albeit from a distinctly Christian perspective. These accounts portray Caiaphas as a key figure in the plot against Jesus, presiding over his trial and pushing for his crucifixion. While these texts are not considered unbiased historical documents, they offer valuable insights into how early Christians viewed Caiaphas and the religious establishment he represented. One of the most famous quotes attributed to Caiaphas comes from the Gospel of John, where he says, "It is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish." This statement has been interpreted in various ways by theologians and historians. Some see it as a cold political calculation, while others view it as an unwitting prophecy about Jesus' sacrificial death. Caiaphas's legacy extends far beyond archaeological and historical records. His actions, as described in the New Testament, have been the subject of theological discussions and debates for centuries. Christian traditions often portray Caiaphas as a villain, the man who condemned Jesus to death. However, some scholars argue for a more nuanced view, seeing Caiaphas as a political pragmatist caught between the demands of his faith, his people, and the Roman occupiers. In Jewish history, Caiaphas is often viewed more neutrally. He is seen as one in a line of high priests who had to navigate the difficult waters of Roman occupation. Some Jewish scholars point out that Caiaphas's long tenure as high priest suggests he was skilled at maintaining stability in a turbulent period. This was no small feat, given the constant threat of rebellion and the delicate balance of power between Jewish authorities and Roman rulers. Understanding Caiaphas fully requires considering the world he lived in. He was a figure of immense influence and authority, navigating a complex and often hostile political landscape. His decisions during the trial and crucifixion of Jesus were influenced by a mix of religious, political, and personal factors. While his actions have been scrutinized and debated for centuries, they provide a window into the challenges faced by Jewish leaders under Roman rule. Through archaeological discoveries and historical writings, we gain a deeper understanding of Caiaphas's role in one of history's most pivotal moments. First-century Judea was a crucible of political and religious tensions. The Jewish people, chafing under Roman rule, were caught in the throes of messianic expectations that stirred unrest and division. This tumultuous period saw various Jewish sects, Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, and others, competing fiercely for influence and authority. As high priest and head of the Sanhedrin, Caiaphas was at the epicenter of this conflict. He was tasked with managing internal divisions among the Jewish factions, while simultaneously maintaining a delicate peace with the Roman authorities. His role was one of immense complexity and responsibility, navigating the treacherous waters of politics and religion. Archaeological excavations from Caiaphas's time have provided a wealth of information about daily life in Jerusalem. The city was undergoing significant expansion and renovation under Herod the Great and his successors, resulting in a dramatic transformation of its urban landscape. The temple, the spiritual and religious heart of Jewish life, was a massive complex that dominated the city's skyline. Recent excavations in the city of David and around the Temple Mount have uncovered streets, houses, and ritual baths, known as mikvehs, that would have been familiar to Caiaphas and his contemporaries. These finds offer a tangible glimpse into the environment in which Caiaphas operated and the daily life of first-century Jerusalemites. The story of Caiaphas extends beyond historical and archaeological contexts into art and literature. He appears as a character in numerous paintings, plays, and films depicting the life of Jesus. These portrayals have shaped popular perceptions of Caiaphas, often emphasizing his role in the condemnation of Jesus. Over time, artistic representations have ranged from depicting him as a one-dimensional villain to portraying him as a more complex figure torn between duty and conscience. This varied portrayal reflects the ongoing fascination with Caiaphas and the ways in which his actions have been interpreted through different lenses. In more recent times, Caiaphas has become a focal point of interest for historians and archaeologists studying the political and religious landscape of first-century Judea. By examining Caiaphas's role and actions, scholars have gained valuable insights into the intricate relationship between Jewish religious authorities and Roman political power during this pivotal period. His actions and decisions provide a window into the challenges faced by Jewish leaders under Roman occupation and the ways in which they navigated the demands of their roles. The legacy of Caiaphas underscores how a single historical figure can have a profound and lasting impact. His story intersects with one of the most significant events in religious history, the trial and crucifixion of Jesus. As such, it continues to captivate scholars and laypeople alike. The ongoing archaeological work in Jerusalem and its surrounding areas holds promise for uncovering even more information about Caiaphas and his world. Such discoveries could further illuminate the complexities of his role and the context in which he operated. One area of ongoing research involves the study of ancient Jewish priestly families. Genetic studies of modern populations claiming descent from the ancient priesthood, those with the Cohen surname, have revealed a common Y chromosome haplotype. This suggests a shared ancestry dating back to ancient times. While we cannot directly link this to Caiaphas, it provides intriguing possibilities for understanding the priestly lineages of his era. Such studies might help clarify the broader context of priestly authority and family connections during Caiaphas's time. Another avenue of research is the exploration of ancient texts beyond the Bible and Josephus. The Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, offer valuable insights into the diverse religious landscape of first-century Judaism. Although these texts do not mention Caiaphas directly, they shed light on the theological debates and power struggles that would have influenced his world. Understanding these broader religious and social contexts can enhance our comprehension of Caiaphas's actions and decisions. Despite the wealth of information available, questions about Caiaphas remain. How accurately do the gospel accounts portray his role in Jesus' trial? What additional details might future archaeological discoveries reveal about his life and times? How should we interpret Caiaphas's actions in light of the political and religious pressures he faced? As we continue to uncover new evidence and re-examine old sources, our understanding of Caiaphas and his era evolves. His story serves as a reminder of the complex interplay between religion and politics, and the profound impact that decisions made in one moment can have on the course of history.
If in the beginning there was nothing, and then God created the earth and the skies. And that's essentially what the Bible is trying to say. They're just doing it in a way.
And the Bible got it right.
In the 1700s, a long-lost ancient text resurfaced in the Ethiopian region of Abyssinia, the mysterious Book of Enoch. This forgotten scripture had vanished for centuries, but when it was rediscovered, it sent shockwaves through the early Christian church. Priests and scholars who encountered it were left shaken, gripped by fear. The secret knowledge contained within sparked expeditions in search of its meaning. Some were driven to madness, while others were forever changed. But what exactly is in this book that has left such a powerful mark on those who found it? Join me as we dive into the enigmatic world of the Book of Enoch. We are Jesus' eternal aura. In today's video, you will have appropriate answers to all the questions above. Before you know what happened, subscribe to the channel, like this video. The Book of Enoch has been a subject of much controversy and intrigue, largely due to its esoteric content and its role in early religious history. This ancient text was discovered in Abyssinia, modern-day Ethiopia, in 1773 by Scottish explorer James Bruce. However, the story behind its origin, its exclusion from the Bible, and the powerful ideas it presents have made it a polarizing topic, especially among scholars and religious figures. One modern figure who has brought the Book of Enoch into contemporary conversations is Joe Rogan, the popular podcaster known for his deep dives into alternative histories, politics, and religion. The Book of Enoch, often referred to as the Ethiopic Book of Enoch, is part of a collection of writings known as pseudepigrapha. These are works falsely attributed to prominent biblical figures to lend them credibility. In the case of the Book of Enoch, it is attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, but the text was written long after Enoch's death. Scholars believe this pseudepigraphical attribution was meant to give the text more authority. Rogan and others believe that this ancient book contains essential truths that have been suppressed by political and religious institutions over the centuries. The Book of Enoch is part of a broader genre of Jewish apocalyptic literature that includes other works like the Life of Adam and Eve, the Treatise of Shem, and the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. These texts provide a glimpse into the diversity of religious thought during the Second Temple period in Palestine, a time when various forms of Judaism coexisted and gave rise to apocalyptic movements that would eventually influence Christianity. The Book of Enoch, in particular, sheds light on ancient Jewish beliefs about angels, the origins of evil, and the coming judgment. The Book of Enoch was largely lost to history until its rediscovery in the late 18th century. Scottish explorer James Bruce is credited with bringing the text back to Europe after obtaining it during his travels in Ethiopia. Bruce, an adventurer and scholar, was in search of the Blue Nile, but his interests extended beyond geography. He was also fascinated by ancient cultures and religious texts. During his time in Abyssinia, Bruce encountered the ancient Ethiopian language of Ge'ez, which preserved the Book of Enoch in its entirety. This language, which had roots in early Christianity, became the vehicle through which Bruce brought the text to the Western world. Bruce's motives for seeking the Book of Enoch were not purely academic. He was a member of the Canongate Kilwinning Masonic Lodge, and some historians believe that his interest in the book was tied to his Masonic beliefs. Freemasons held that Enoch was the founder of the written language, and they regarded him as a keeper of hidden knowledge. By uncovering the Book of Enoch, Bruce may have hoped to validate these beliefs and uncover ancient secrets that aligned with Masonic traditions. The Book of Enoch contains a unique narrative that differs from the traditional Judeo-Christian accounts of the origins of evil and the role of the devil. In the canonical Bible, the devil is portrayed as the ultimate antagonist, the embodiment of evil who tempts humanity away from God. However, the Book of Enoch presents a more complex story. According to this text, the angels who descended from heaven to teach humanity, known as the Watchers, were the original bringers of knowledge and wisdom. They were led by a figure named Azazel, who is often equated with the devil. The Watchers taught humans everything from agriculture to weapon making, and while this knowledge brought progress, it also led to the corruption of humanity. This narrative implies that the source of human wisdom and culture came from these fallen angels rather than from God. This radical idea posed a direct challenge to the traditional religious authority of the time, which portrayed God as the ultimate source of wisdom and goodness. As a result, the Book of Enoch was excluded from the official canon of both Jewish and Christian scriptures. The Book of Enoch's depiction of the devil and the origins of evil was highly controversial and likely contributed to its suppression. In the religious and social climate of the time, the idea that the devil could have once been humanity's ally was considered heretical. The early church fathers denounced the book, and it was eventually lost to history, surviving only in fragments in various languages such as Greek, Latin, and Syriac. It wasn't until the 18th century, with Bruce's discovery in Ethiopia, that the book resurfaced in its entirety. This rediscovery, however, did not immediately lead to widespread acceptance. The implications of the Book of Enoch were too radical for the religious authorities of Bruce's time. The book suggested that humanity's progress and creativity were not divinely inspired, but rather the result of the knowledge imparted by rebellious angels. This notion undermined the authority of the church and the idea that divine wisdom was the sole guiding force in human history. The Book of Enoch remained a relatively obscure text until the mid-20th century, when it was rediscovered once again, this time among the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Judean desert in 1946. This discovery reignited scholarly interest in the book and led to a renewed examination of its historical and theological significance. Some scholars argue that the Book of Enoch provides valuable insight into the diversity of early Jewish and Christian beliefs, particularly in relation to the origins of evil and the role of angels in human affairs. In recent years, Joe Rogan has brought the Book of Enoch into the public spotlight, discussing it on his podcast with various scientists, historians, and religious scholars. Rogan is fascinated by the book's portrayal of ancient knowledge and its ties to human progress. He argues that the Book of Enoch contains essential truths that have been buried by centuries of political and religious power struggles. According to Rogan, the suppression of the Book of Enoch is indicative of a broader effort to control the narrative of human history and limit the spread of certain knowledge. Rogan's endorsement of the Book of Enoch has sparked renewed interest in the text, particularly among those who are skeptical of traditional religious institutions. He views the book as a key to understanding humanity's forgotten past and its relationship with higher powers, whether divine or otherwise. His discussions on the topic have generated controversy, with some applauding his willingness to explore alternative histories, while others criticize him for giving credence to pseudepigraphical works that challenge established religious doctrines. The Book of Enoch remains a fascinating and controversial text that continues to captivate scholars, religious figures, and modern commentators like Joe Rogan. Its narrative challenges traditional Judeo-Christian beliefs about the origins of evil, the role of the devil, and the source of human knowledge. Rediscovered in both the 18th and 20th centuries, the Book of Enoch provides a unique window into the diverse religious thought of ancient times and raises important questions about the intersection of religion, power, and knowledge. Whether viewed as a heretical text or a lost piece of ancient wisdom, the Book of Enoch continues to inspire debate and curiosity in those who seek to understand the mysteries of the past.
Police in Turkey have recovered a Bible thought to be 1,000 years old, the holy book which was found in the central Turkish city of Tokat.
The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947 is one of the most significant archaeological finds of the 20th century. A group of young Bedouin boys, tending their sheep near the caves in Qumran on the northwest coast of the Dead Sea, now known as the West Bank, stumbled upon the scrolls by accident. When one boy threw a rock into a cave opening, he heard the unexpected sound of pottery breaking. Out of curiosity, the boys entered the cave and discovered several large clay jars, 7 of which contained leather and papyrus scrolls. These ancient scrolls, eventually repurchased by scholars and antiquities merchants, were found to be over 2,000 years old, sparking a surge of interest among historians and religious scholars alike. One of the scrolls unearthed was the Book of Enoch, a text that has sparked centuries of debate and speculation. Many clerical scholars dismissed it, arguing that the revelations it contained were not divinely inspired. The Book of Enoch was excluded from the traditional Bible, though it had been held in high regard by certain Jewish sects, particularly in the Second Temple period. The rejection of the text by later religious authorities is often attributed to the controversial and profound revelations it contains, dealing with the creation of the world, fallen angels, giants, and cosmological mysteries. The Book of Enoch, particularly its descriptions of angels, giants, and apocalyptic visions, is believed to reflect elements of Babylonian mythology. Some scholars argue that Enoch's story is a compilation of various works, many of which are apocryphal. Yet the text continues to fascinate modern readers, including public figures like Joe Rogan, who have expressed skepticism about why it was dismissed by religious authorities. Rogan has argued that despite the mythical elements within the book, it also contains insights into many of the scientific mysteries of the world. This has led some to question whether its exclusion from the Bible was justified. The figure of Enoch, who is credited as the author of the book, holds a unique place in religious tradition. In the book of Genesis, Enoch is described as the 7th patriarch in the line of Adam, living in the period between the Garden of Eden and the Great Flood. He is portrayed as a righteous man who walked with God, eventually being taken to heaven without dying. According to the Book of Enoch, he is given a divine mission to learn the secrets of the end of time. Some interpret this as Enoch being a forerunner of the Messiah, while others view him as a man who was granted heavenly knowledge. In any case, the story paints Enoch as a figure who transcends his mortal life, learning and revealing cosmic truths. The Book of Enoch opens with a striking description of the end of times, painting a vivid picture of Earth being torn apart and a final judgment for sinful humanity. The text introduces a group of mysterious beings known as the Watchers, 200 angels originally tasked with observing the history of the world. However, the Watchers become corrupted when they begin to lust after human women, descending to Earth to take them as wives. This union between angels and humans produces the Nephilim, giant offspring who devour everything in their path. The Nephilim, often described as violent and destructive, may offer an explanation for biblical figures like Goliath, who are depicted as giants. Their origin story as a hybrid of divine beings and humans offers a unique twist on ancient tales of human interaction with the divine. As the giants rampage across the earth, consuming its resources, the Watchers also begin teaching their wives and the human population various forbidden skills. The women are taught spells, charms, and herbology, continuing a long-standing narrative of women as deceivers, echoing earlier biblical stories like that of Eve. Meanwhile, the Watchers impart knowledge of metallurgy to men, allowing them to create weapons and armor. This newfound power leads to widespread warfare among humans. As the chaos unfolds, the Watchers realize their mistake and, in an attempt to escape punishment, turn on one another, blaming a single Watcher named Azazel. Azazel, often depicted with goat-like features, becomes the archetypal scapegoat for the sins of the other Watchers. In response to the corruption, violence, and devastation caused by the Nephilim and the Watchers, God decides to wipe the slate clean by sending a flood to destroy humanity. The story of Noah and his ark closely follows this decision, and Noah is warned of the impending deluge. While Noah prepares for the flood, the plot suddenly shifts to Enoch, who is transported to heaven with little explanation. Once in heaven, God charges Enoch with the task of dealing out eternal punishment to the Watchers, who will be condemned to spend the rest of eternity as demons. God also reveals to Enoch a vision of the end of time, offering imagery that will later be familiar to readers of the biblical books of Daniel and Revelation. This vision includes scenes of cosmic destruction and the final judgment of humanity. Enoch, now empowered by God, is transformed into a mighty figure, even becoming the leader of the archangels under the name Metatron. This elevation of Enoch underscores the importance of his role in the divine plan, though the narrative remains somewhat disjointed, with Enoch's ascent to this position happening abruptly and without much explanation. One of the most compelling aspects of the Book of Enoch is its exploration of the Nephilim, giant, fallen beings who are the offspring of human women and the Watchers. The Nephilim are depicted as fearsome giants, capable of great destruction. Their size and supernatural nature have led to ongoing debates among scholars. Some argue that their immense stature is due to their divine origins, while others caution against taking these descriptions literally. The idea that angels or demons could father children with humans is a point of contention among religious scholars, with some seeing it as a mythological addition to the narrative, rather than a theological truth. The Book of Enoch offers a unique and provocative interpretation of biblical history, filled with mystical visions, powerful beings, and a catastrophic judgment. While it remains outside the canon of the Bible, its influence is undeniable. Its stories of angels, giants, and the end of time continue to captivate readers, offering a glimpse into a world of ancient myths and mysteries that still resonate with us today.
Israeli archaeologists working to prevent caves in the area from being looted filmed the moment of their discovery. They'd found ancient verses from the books of the prophets Zechariah and Nahum in the Hebrew Bible.
The concept of the Nephilim is a fascinating topic of debate, with various interpretations about their origins. One theory suggests that the Nephilim were not supernatural beings, but simply humans who strayed from a righteous path. This idea aligns with the belief that the sons of God mentioned in the Bible were descendants of Seth, the son of Adam, who represented goodness. According to this theory, the Nephilim were members of Seth's lineage who turned away from God and led immoral lives. This interpretation contrasts with other theories that portray the Nephilim as more mystical beings. One significant source for discussions about the Nephilim and other celestial beings is the Book of Enoch, an ancient religious text divided into 5 sections: the Book of the Watchers, the Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, the Dream Visions, and the Epistles of Enoch. This book contains a total of 100 chapters and provides in-depth accounts of angelic beings and their interactions with humanity, especially focusing on a group called the Watchers. The Book of the Watchers introduces these angelic figures as beings both referred to as sons of God and sons of heaven. In chapter 7, these Watchers, or the Grigori as they are sometimes known, are described as angels who were initially assigned to observe and guide the early humans. Their primary role was to watch over humanity without direct interference. However, their role as passive overseers would soon change as they became involved with human affairs in ways that had profound consequences. According to the Book of Enoch, as humans multiplied, the beauty of women became so captivating that it caught the attention of the watchers. These sons of God were drawn to the daughters of men, finding them irresistible. They convened among themselves and decided to take human women as wives, violating their divine mandate. The leader of the watchers, Samyaza, also known as Shemihaza, initially cautioned the group, warning them of the severe consequences of such an action. He feared that he alone would suffer for the crime against God. However, the other watchers reassured him, agreeing to share responsibility and accept whatever punishment might follow. In total, 200 watchers descended to Earth to pursue these relationships with women, directly disobeying divine orders. This act of rebellion not only involved forming unions with human women, but also imparting forbidden knowledge. The watchers taught women various secrets, including sorcery, incantations, and the division of roots, which granted them powers not meant for mankind. By doing so, the watchers not only defied God's will, but also corrupted human beings by sharing heavenly knowledge that was not intended for them. The offspring of these unions were known as the Nephilim, often described as giants. These beings were hybrids, a mixture of angelic and human traits, and their presence on Earth created chaos. While the nature of the Nephilim is still debated, their mention in Genesis 6:1-4 supports the view that they were giants, heroes of old, men of renown. According to the Book of Enoch, the Nephilim were initially mighty beings, but their enormous size and strength soon led to destructive behavior. They consumed the resources that humans had built, and when they could no longer be satisfied, they turned violent, killing both humans and, eventually, each other. Amidst this growing violence, Chapter 8 introduces another key figure, Azazel, one of the Watchers. He is said to have taught humanity the use of weapons such as swords and knives, instigating warfare. He also taught the use of metals and dyes, allowing humans to manipulate and alter their surroundings. As much as the Watchers divulged forbidden knowledge regarding the secrets of heaven, Azazel's teachings on warfare, weaponry, and other destructive practices greatly contributed to humanity's moral decline. His actions led to an increase in impiety, corruption, and fornication, further corrupting humanity. Other Watchers also contributed to this knowledge transfer, teaching astrology, science, and the mysteries of the heavens. These teachings, coupled with the unchecked presence of the Nephilim, led to humanity's near destruction. Men's cries of despair reached heaven, prompting divine intervention. In Chapter 9, 4 prominent archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, observe the chaos unfolding on Earth. Disturbed by what they see, they go before God to express their concerns. They place the blame squarely on Azazel for spreading iniquity and revealing divine secrets to humanity. They also point to Samyaza, accusing him of teaching sorcery and being responsible for leading the Watchers in their rebellion and copulating with human women, producing the Nephilim. Faced with this grave situation, the archangels ask God how they should proceed to restore order to the earth. In Chapter 10, God responds by giving specific instructions to the archangels. Uriel is tasked with finding Noah, the son of Lamech, and informing him about the impending flood that will cleanse the earth of all the corruption. Uriel explains to Noah how to survive the flood and emphasizes that Noah's descendants will be the only ones to repopulate the earth after the catastrophe. Meanwhile, Archangel Raphael is ordered to bind Azazel and cast him into the darkness, deep into the desert of Dudael, a place associated with the underworld. The Book of Parables, another section of the Book of Enoch, does not appear in the Dead Sea Scrolls and is unique to the tradition preserved by the Beta Israel community. It is speculated that this part of the book was carried south from Egypt to Cush and later included in their religious texts. This section offers further commentary on the fate of the Watchers, their transgressions, and the consequences of their actions. The Book of Enoch, especially the sections about the Watchers and Nephilim, has captured the imagination of scholars and theologians for centuries. Some have speculated that the Watchers could be ancient depictions of extraterrestrial beings, leading to modern-day theories about alien encounters. Regardless of how the text is interpreted, the stories within the Book of Enoch offer a unique perspective on angelic beings, their relationship with humanity, and the consequences of straying from divine law. The Book of Parables, part of the Ethiopian Highlands religious tradition, has a complex and contested history, with scholars generally dating its composition to the Christian era between 50 and 200 AD. However, this claim is controversial, particularly within the Beta Israel community, which maintains that the text has much older origins, predating Christianity. Their holy book, the Orit, was based on an early Greek version of the Septuagint, circulating between 225 and 200 BC, when only 8 books had been translated. This timeline raises questions about the addition of later works, like the Book of Parables, suggesting it could have been part of their tradition before further translations were made after 200 BC. A significant issue in dating the Book of Parables is how scholars have interpreted its language and terminology. Christian scholars, who assume a later Christian composition, often view terms like Son of Man as references to Jesus Christ. However, this interpretation is contested. A closer reading of the text reveals that the term Son of Man does not appear to reference Jesus, but instead the biblical figure Seth, the third son of Adam and Eve, who is depicted as the patriarch of the human race following the flood. In Hebrew, Ben Adam translates directly as son of Adam, and Seth is introduced as such in the opening of the text. The translators who assume the text to be a Christian-era composition often imposed Christian terminology onto it, leading to a misinterpretation of key elements. The Book of Parables is structured around 3 parables or oracles, rather than the parables of Jesus in the New Testament. These oracles are delivered to Enoch, beginning with a genealogical introduction in chapter 37. The parables span chapters 38 to 59, with each section focusing on different themes of judgment, righteousness, and the fate of those who deny the name of the Lord. The first parable, contained in chapters 38 to 44, addresses the coming judgment, focusing on the righteous and the unrighteous. Chapter 38 begins with the expectation that the community of the righteous will appear, and the sinner of this world will be judged. The righteous one will lead this judgment, with harsh consequences for those who have denied the Lord's name. This theme is echoed in other apocalyptic literature, including the later books of Ezra and the New Testament, which describe similar torments for the unrighteous. In chapter 39, Enoch is transported into heaven in a whirlwind, where he sees the dwelling places of the righteous, who live among the angels and praise God for eternity. He encounters the elect one of righteousness and of faith, a figure likely connected to the righteous one in chapter 38, and responds to this vision with praise. He also sees a vision of hundreds of thousands of angels, and among them are 4 who stand out for their significance. These 4 figures, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Phanuel, serve different roles in the heavenly hierarchy. Michael is known for his mercy and patience, Raphael for healing diseases and wounds, Gabriel for power and strength, and Phanuel for the hope of eternal life. This depiction of heavenly beings mirrors other apocalyptic works, such as Revelation, where 4 figures surround God's throne. Enoch is then introduced to the secrets of heaven in chapter 41, where he learns about the balance of kingdoms, cosmic forces, and the weighing of human actions. He sees the cosmic storehouses and the sun and moon, which are described as beyond human interference. Chapter 42 continues this theme with a poetic description of wisdom personified, searching for her place among humanity, but eventually returning to dwell with the angels. The following chapters, 43 and 44, delve into cosmic secrets like lightning and the stars of heaven, connecting to the astronomical book section of 1 Enoch, found in chapters 72 to 82. The astronomical book is a lengthy discourse on celestial bodies, aimed at calculating the length of the year. This section is highly esoteric, with detailed descriptions of the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. In chapter 81, Enoch is commanded to read from the tablets of heaven and to report this knowledge to his son Methuselah. The text suggests that these tablets contain information about everything that will happen to all flesh on earth. And Enoch's knowledge is portrayed as divinely inspired, communicated to him by the angel Uriel. The astronomical calculations are significant because they assert that the true length of the year is 364 days, not the 360-day year commonly used in other ancient calendars. This precise calculation of the year is a central theme in the Book of Parables and has broader implications for religious observance. John Collins, a scholar of apocalyptic literature, points out that the main concern of this section is to prevent sin caused by calendrical error. In the context of Jewish religious observance, maintaining the correct calendar was crucial for determining the timing of festivals like Passover. The issue of the calendar was also important in New Testament studies and Dead Sea Scrolls scholarship, as different Jewish sects adhered to different calendars, leading to disputes over the correct observance of holidays. The 364-day calendar, endorsed by the Book of Parables, was significant because it aligned with a vision of divine order communicated through heavenly revelation. The focus on calendrical accuracy and cosmic secrets in the Book of Parables highlights its preoccupation with understanding the divine order of the universe. Rather than being a simple prophetic or messianic text, the Book of Parables engages with complex issues of time, judgment, and righteousness, positioning Enoch as a mediator between heaven and earth. His visions of angels, heavenly storehouses, and cosmic forces provide a framework for understanding human history and destiny in light of divine revelation. In conclusion, the Book of Parables is a multifaceted work with deep roots in Jewish apocalyptic tradition, possibly predating the Christian era, despite scholarly claims to the contrary. Its focus on the figure of Seth, the emphasis on judgment and righteousness, and the detailed exploration of cosmic secrets all suggest a rich theological tradition that has been misinterpreted by those who impose Christian terminology onto its language. The Book of Parables is a testament to the diverse and complex religious landscape of the ancient world, offering insights into the beliefs and practices of early Jewish communities like the Beta Israel.
We're not alone in the universe. A UFO in the form of a bright light is seen descending over the dome of the Rocky in Jerusalem.
It's profoundly annoying.
Sound signals Shabbats. Here in Jerusalem.
Brothers and sisters in Christ, have you heard the wondrous tales foretold millennia ago? These tales were not whispered in the bustling streets of San Francisco or the spiraling avenues of Los Angeles, not in the halls of Moscow or the cafes of Paris, but in the holy city of Jerusalem. This sacred land, chosen by our Almighty Father, is the very heart of the end-time scripture. The prophet spoke of Israel's scattering and its miraculous return, a testament to God's enduring love. Jerusalem has always been the crucible where He tests His faithful, and the events unfolding within its walls hold immense significance. In recent times, many learned scholars have turned their gaze toward Jerusalem, uncovering wonders and mysteries that send shivers down the spines of the devout. Join me, dear brothers and sisters, on a journey to unveil the truth behind these unsettling developments in the Holy Land. What trials and tribulations await the faithful in this sacred city? Let us delve into the scriptures and discover the significance of these recent events. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button for more journeys. Friends, have you ever felt a wave of pure joy wash over you, bringing tears to your eyes? That's the experience many have at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, also known as the Church of the Resurrection. This sacred place in the heart of Jerusalem isn't just a tourist destination. It's a beacon of faith where Christians come to pray and deepen their connection with God. The Bible tells us of incredible miracles, and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is a place where many believe such miracles continue to this day. It is a place that can touch your soul and inspire a deeper understanding of God's love and sacrifice for humanity. This video will take you closer to the events of Holy Week, a time when Christians remember the immense sacrifice Jesus made on the cross. As we reflect on Jesus' love and the significance of his crucifixion and burial, take a moment to think deeply about these events. We will explore the answers together in this video, delving into phenomena that might shock religious people all over the world. Is there hard evidence of the resurrection? In the hallowed halls of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, a tomb believed to be that of our Lord Jesus Christ himself has recently been opened for investigation. When scientists were permitted to open the place believed to have been Christ's tomb, rumors spread that they immediately smelled a sweet aroma upon opening it. This scent is reminiscent of the olfactory manifestations commonly associated with Marian and saintly apparitions. Although these rumors haven't been confirmed, something similar was reported the last time the tomb was opened in 1809. But the wonders do not stop there. It was alleged that some of the measuring instruments used by scientists were altered by electromagnetic disturbances as soon as they were placed vertically on the stone where Christ's body is believed to have rested. The devices either malfunctioned or ceased to work altogether. If the reports about the scent make scientists somewhat uncertain, they are much less hesitant regarding the electromagnetic disturbances. These phenomena were confirmed by one of the scientists authorized to access the tomb. Later, one of the heads of the restoration and construction team, Antonio Moru, indicated that it is hard to imagine someone would risk their reputation for a publicity stunt. Moreover, journalists testified to the scientists' surprise during the opening of the slab. They had hoped that the grave would be much lower than it was. Previous analyses with instruments seemed to have been distorted by electromagnetic disturbances. God's miracles did not stop there. Every year on Holy Saturday, a miracle takes place in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the miracle of the Holy Fire. This miracle has occurred at the same time, in the same manner, and in the same place every single year for centuries. No other miracle is known to occur so regularly and steadily over time. The Holy Fire originates as a divine light that manifests on the marble slab covering the stone bed upon which Jesus' body was placed for burial. This phenomenon has been witnessed in various forms by different people throughout history. Initially, the Holy Fire appears as a light that does not behave like a normal fire. It can be transferred from candle to candle, but for a time, it will not burn or damage what it touches. Other phenomena witnessed before the manifestation of the Holy Fire include lightning-like flashes above the shrine of the tomb of Christ and swiftly moving balls of light. Beginning on the afternoon of Holy Friday, pilgrims wait in anticipation for the miracle, camping as close to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre as possible. As the clock strikes the 11th hour, Christian Arabs raise their voices in joyful hymns that echo through the ages. These songs harken back to a time of hardship during the Turkish rule in the 13th century, when Christians were forbidden to sing their praises openly and found solace only within the sacred walls of their churches. Today, their voices rise strong and clear, accompanied by the rhythmic beat of drums. Witness the joy and vibrant energy as these devout souls dance with fervor around the holy edifice, their spirits unbowed. As the sun climbs high and the hour of one approaches, a hush falls upon the crowd. A reverent silence descends, thick with anticipation, for all hearts know what is about to transpire, a momentous display of God's divine power. Then, pushing through the throng, a delegation from the local authorities appears, representing the Roman soldiers of old. In the time of our Lord, these soldiers were tasked with securing Jesus' tomb to ensure no trickery or theft of his body. Today, our Israeli brethren fulfill this symbolic role, sealing the tomb with wax. But before the final seal is placed, a sacred custom unfolds. The authorities enter the tomb to ensure there is no hidden source of fire that could mar the miracle about to occur. You might wonder, how does the miracle occur? Listen to the account of Patriarch Diodorus, who was the patriarch from 1981 to 2000. Normally, the miracle happens immediately after I have said the prayers. From the core of the very stone on which Jesus lay, an indefinable light pours forth. It usually has a blue tint, but the color may change and take many different hues. It cannot be described in human terms. The light rises out of the stone as mist may rise out of a lake. It almost looks as if the stone is covered by a moist cloud, but it is light. This light each year behaves differently, Diodorus continues. Sometimes it covers just the stone, while other times it illuminates the whole sepulchre, so that people who stand outside the tomb and look into it will see it filled with light. The light does not burn. I have never had my beard burnt in all the 16 years I have been patriarch in Jerusalem and have received the holy fire. The light is of a different consistency than a normal fire that burns in an oil lamp. At a certain point, the light rises and forms a column from which I am able to light my candles. When I have received the flame on my candles, I go out and give the fire first to the Armenian Patriarch and then to the Coptic Patriarch. Hereafter, I give the flame to all the people present in the church. When the Patriarch comes out with the 2 candles lit and shining brightly in the darkness, a roar of jubilation resounds in the church. The miracle is not confined to what happens inside the little tomb where the Patriarch prays for the blue light. It is reported to appear and be active outside the tomb every year. Many believers claim that this miraculous light ignites candles they hold in their hands on its own initiative. All in the church wait with candles, hoping they may ignite spontaneously. Often, unlit oil lamps catch light by themselves before the eyes of the pilgrims. The blue flame is seen to move in different places in the church, and numerous signed testimonies by pilgrims attest to the validity of these spontaneous ignitions. The person who experiences the miracle up close, by having their candle lit by the holy fire or seeing the blue light, often leaves Jerusalem changed. The holy fire is not just a spectacle. It is a profound experience that reaffirms faith and the divine presence in the world. It is a testament to the enduring power of belief and the miraculous events that continue to inspire Christians around the globe. This annual event, steeped in tradition and divine mystery, underscores the significance of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre as a beacon of faith. For centuries, it has been a place where miracles are not just remembered but witnessed, a living testament to the extraordinary events that shaped Christianity. As the holy fire manifests, it serves as a reminder of the divine and the miraculous, encouraging believers to deepen their faith and celebrate the enduring legacy of Jesus Christ's sacrifice and resurrection. God is spirit, and his worshippers must worship in spirit and in truth. Indeed, we are saved through Christ's shed blood, not through an idol opening its eyes. The enemy can come as an angel of light. He is a deceiver of the brethren. We are not saved through idols or rituals, but by believing in our hearts that Jesus died for our sins and washed us clean. This brings us to a profound question. Is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre truly where Jesus Christ was crucified and buried? The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is one of the most important sites in Christianity and is widely believed by tradition to be the place where Jesus Christ died and was resurrected. Essentially, the church is thought to contain the location of Jesus' crucifixion, known as Calvary or Golgotha, as well as Jesus' empty tomb, where he was buried following his death but is now empty following his resurrection. These are widely considered the two holiest sites in Christianity. The church has remained an important Christian pilgrimage location, with the last 4 stations of the cross on the Via Dolorosa in the Old City of Jerusalem. Despite its significance, many people doubt whether the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is really where Jesus Christ was crucified, buried, and resurrected. Is Jesus' tomb really there? Join us in discovering the secrets of this church. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre itself has a strange and complicated arrangement of control known as a status quo, meaning it is controlled by several different Christian denominations at once. This precarious balance is maintained by an understanding of the status quo dating back to 1757, all of which is reflected by the infamous immovable ladder. Just how important is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre? First, let's find out when the church was built and who built it. According to traditional accounts, the church itself was built in the 4th century CE after Roman Emperor Constantine the Great legalized Christianity. He sent his mother, Helena, to look for Jesus' tomb in Jerusalem. Supposedly, she found the true cross near a tomb at the location of a pagan temple dedicated either to Jupiter or Venus. The temple was torn down, revealing a rock-cut tomb underneath, which was assumed to be the tomb of Jesus Christ. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre was then built over the site and consecrated in 335. Originally called the Church of the Anastasis, meaning resurrection, the church has been damaged and destroyed several times over the years. In 614, the Sasanian Empire, the then incarnation of the Persian Empire, destroyed the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in a fire. It was rebuilt 16 years later. In 1009, the Fatimid Caliphate ordered the Church of the Holy Sepulchre's destruction as part of a targeted campaign against Jewish and Christian holy sites and houses of worship throughout the region. It was rebuilt and redecorated later. This cycle of destruction and reconstruction continued over the centuries, with occasional expansions and renovations, the most recent of which occurred in 2022. Several candidates lay claim to being the tomb of Jesus, some of which aren't even in the region at all. 2 of the most well-known alternative possible tombs of Jesus are also in Jerusalem. One of them, the Talpiot tomb, was found in the 1980s in Jerusalem's Talpiot neighborhood. This was supported by the presence of a grave that is seemingly labeled Yeshua Bar Yosef, which would translate to Jesus, son of Joseph. However, it is widely accepted that this is a coincidence and likely belongs to someone with the same name, as there are signs that the tomb belonged to a wealthy Judean family. Another of these tombs is the Garden Tomb, found in the 19th century in Jerusalem. This tomb is even older than Jesus and presents some issues with its location and history. Nevertheless, it is still accepted by some Christian denominations as being the tomb of Jesus. In particular, the Mormons and some evangelical Protestants, as well as some academics, think that it is the most likely location for Jesus' tomb. However, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is still the most widely accepted location and has been for over 1600 years. The tomb itself has some evidence supporting it as the correct site. The New Testament states that Jesus was crucified and buried outside the walls of Jerusalem. In ancient times, burials almost always took place outside the city. At the time Jesus would have lived, the old city of Jerusalem's walls would not have extended as far as they do now, and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre would have been outside them. Archaeological evidence supports this, indicating that the second wall was built around the church later. All the information pouring in can be confusing, but as St. Matthew taught, be alert to everything, for false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, there he is, out in the wilderness, do not go out. Or, here he is, in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. At last, we believe what we choose to believe. When you visit the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, you might notice a curious object, a ladder. This is no ordinary ladder, but the famous immovable ladder, a powerful symbol of religious division and human folly. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre, revered as the site of Jesus Christ's crucifixion and resurrection, is one of the holiest places in Christianity and has been a pilgrimage site since the 4th century. However, even this venerated shrine has not escaped the quirks of human nature, such as vanity, pride, and envy. Christianity has splintered into numerous denominations and sects, each claiming to be the true followers of Jesus Christ. These groups have fought bitterly over the centuries for dominance over the holy sites in the Holy Land. During the period of Muslim dominance, a government equally hostile to all Christian denominations meant that no one sect could achieve a clear advantage over the others. As disputes continued, the methods of gaining an upper hand became ever more varied, including bribery, blackmail, and the use of force. Today, the situation is an uneasy status quo, a fragile compromise reached through the mediation of the Ottoman Empire and several European powers. The care of the Church is shared by 6 denominations: the Greek Orthodox, Armenian Apostolic, and Roman Catholic churches are the primary custodians, with the Coptic, Ethiopian, and Syriac Orthodox churches sharing lesser duties. The Church is carefully divided into sections, some shared and others strictly belonging to a particular sect. A complicated set of rules governs the transit rights of the other groups through each section on any given day, especially during holidays. However, some sections of the Church remain hotly disputed. Arguments and even violent clashes are not uncommon. For example, in November 2008, videos flooded the internet showing a fistfight between Armenian and Greek monks over one such dispute. A small section of the church's roof is disputed between the Copts and Ethiopians. At least one Coptic monk always sits on a chair placed in a particular spot to assert their claim. On a hot summer day, moving the chair into the shade was interpreted as a hostile act, leading to a fight that hospitalized 11 people. This state of affairs makes any agreement about renovations or repairs nearly impossible, leading to a state of decay for the Church. The immovable ladder is a bizarre outcome of this religious stubbornness. Sometime in the first half of the 18th century, someone placed a ladder against the church wall. No one knows who did it or to which sect they belonged. The ladder has remained there ever since, as no one dares move it lest they disturb the status quo and provoke the wrath of others. The earliest evidence of the ladder comes from a 1728 engraving by Elzéar Horn, and it hasn't moved since. The opening and closing of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre have been controlled by the Nusaybe family, the oldest Muslim family in Jerusalem, and the Jude family since at least the 12th century. These families continue to hold this authority today. Holding the keys to the church that is thought to house Jesus' tomb is a significant responsibility. Many people wonder if they can visit this sacred place. The answer is yes, entrance is free, although some parts of the church might be closed for ceremonies depending on the day. Every year, millions of tourists flock here to pray and bring their hearts closer to God. When you come to Jerusalem, the most striking structure on the Temple Mount in the Old City is the Golden Dome of the Rock. The rock is believed in Judaism to be the spot where God created the first human, Adam, and where Abraham attempted to sacrifice his son Isaac. It is said to have a divine presence and is the direction toward which Jews pray. Not far from these holy shrines, you can spot the 2 blue domes of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the most holy place in Christianity. Christ was crucified and resurrected on this spot, originally located outside the city of Jerusalem and known as Mount Calvary or Golgotha. Inside the church, a stairway leads up to Calvary, the site of Jesus' crucifixion, and the most extravagantly decorated part of the church. The exit from this site leads to the ambulatory. Calvary has 2 chapels. One is Greek Orthodox and the other Catholic. The Greek Orthodox chapel's altar is over the rock of Calvary, also the 12th station of the cross. You can touch the rock through a special hole in the floor beneath the altar, although you might have to wait in line. You can also see the rock through protective glass on both sides of the altar. Between the Catholic and Greek altars, a statue of Mary marks the 13th station of the cross. Inside the church's entrance is the stone of anointing, believed to be where Jesus' body was prepared for burial. The modern mosaic along the wall depicts the anointing of Jesus' body, with lamps and candles hanging over the stone. Then you can see the edicule, a small chapel housing the Holy Sepulchre. It has 2 rooms. One holds the angel stone, believed to be a fragment of the stone that sealed Jesus' tomb, and the other is the tomb of Jesus. A marble plaque now protects the tomb from further damage caused by pilgrims. The Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, and Armenian Apostolic churches all have access to the interior of the tomb and hold Holy Mass there daily. Between May 2016 and March 2017, the edicule underwent restoration to make the structure safe for visitors again. The marble slab on top has been replaced, and the crypt can be seen partially through an opening protected by glass. In front of this tomb is an empty space where God's miracles are revealed to people. When you visit the church, remember to be respectful, dress modestly, and refrain from eating or drinking inside. The church is still used for important Christian ceremonies every year, thanks in no small part to its association with Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection.